All right. All right, can everyone please rise for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we please stay standing just for a moment of silence? We had a tragedy in Stewartstown on August 24th. Mom and her child were killed, and SRPD fortunately was able to respond. But let's have a moment of silence for the two people that we lost and for all of our first responders. Thank you. Okay. Everybody, the meeting's being recorded, so anyone who stays is giving consent to being recorded. And prior to starting, I wanted to make a motion that we set a time to adjourn under Robert's rules. The first part of our meeting is budget, and I figured a 3-hour meeting would be appropriate, so 9:30 would be our time to adjourn today. And it would not necessarily be a time to adjourn, it could be a continuation meeting if we're not done with all the borough's business. So I would make that motion.
One second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Well, actually, we don't really need discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so, okay, one opposed. So our adjournment time will be 9:30 or continuation time, depending on if we're not done with the business. Did you want to walk us through the budget, or do you want to wait until? Okay. That's fine. Public comment from visitors on agenda items. Joseph Wirth. Bernadette.
Stand or?
Yeah, you can come up here if you like. There's a microphone if you want.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Just flip that switch all the way up.
Right, is that good?
Yep.
So, my name is Bernadette Reinberg, and I live at 206 North Constitution. And I was at 2 previous meetings to this, 2 prior ones, the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission, on the topic of the business that is right next door, which is at 204 North Constitution. And the signs that were glaring in the windows at all hours.
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt, but that's the new vape shop, is that correct?
That's the vape shop,
Okay.
which sells paraphernalia, like bongs are in the windows. And I am really surprised that we would have a business like that here. I knew the community, but I love it, and I'm raising grandchildren. And so I take that responsibility very seriously. I don't know the legality of, as far as the minors that they could be selling them to, I'm not sure. But it's not something, it's kind of an embarrassment to me, but it's not something that I want next door. I know we're not here to address that, but I figured I would at least comment on that, because I figured this is a community that reflects family, and we've got the rail trail, we've got all these great things that are for family, and it goes against what I see New Freedom as, and the spirit of continuing that great, wholesome, small town. I just feel it's a little much. And the other comment I would make is about the lighting and how the lights on the windows are still visible to me 24/7, well, especially at night. And I know they're visible even further down the road. That's how bright they are. And it was my understanding that those types of lights could only be in light industrial and not in residential neighborhoods.
Well, they have to be off by 10 o'clock. So
They're
if
not.
If they're on all night, that would be a violation.
They are on all night, the ones that are in the windows, and there's probably 4 or 5 of them. So I guess that's it. I'm just airing my grievances about the store being there in the first place.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and then duly noted. Can you check with Chief to see about bongs and paraphernalia?
Okay, I did check with Chief. He said there's nothing that they can do. There's no statute that says they can't sell the paraphernalia. He said somebody could be smoking pipe tobacco, regular cigarette tobacco in it, and unless they actually catch somebody having marijuana in one of them, there's nothing they can do. It kind of goes along with adult entertainment. You really can't even stop that when it comes to the statutes and zoning. So I see where you're coming from. I agree, but unfortunately, Chief said there is nothing that they can do from their end to stop it.
Didn't Tommy John go to prison for paraphernalia?
Well, the paraphernalia, if it has residue in it and the police check it, that's a different story. But if you're just selling brand new items, like I said, you could put pipe tobacco in there, regular tobacco. A lot of people roll in their own. You know, it's a tough, I understand where you're coming from, but I did double check when they went in. And they are listed as, I think, a grocery store,
Convenience store.
convenience store.
Okay, so then,
The lighting though, do you want, can we get pictures of the lighting after 10?
She's got it.
She
Do you
has
have
that.
pictures?
I can also tell you that there are people across the street who were not, I'm new to the area, so I didn't feel comfortable knocking on doors. But I do know that there's other people who feel the same way as far as the lights coming into their bedroom window across the street.
How do we, I mean, anybody can have a picture, but how do we verify that it was after 10 o'clock? It would have to be. Okay, I mean, so that, like, that's acceptable if. Correct.
Well, you have your phone that shows when it was taken, right?
Right, and I can actually go out again tonight and take
Well, if
another
she
picture.
provides you the pictures, you're gonna send this business a violation?
Yeah. Well, you didn't, yeah.
And they will receive a violation?
Okay, so the other thing is, and I know this is not the meeting for that, but I wonder as far as, because I did read on the Pennsylvania State website about selling the e-cigarettes to people who are under 18. So I guess if they're doing that, you know, there's a lot of kids going in there.
Yeah, the problem is you have to get somebody to go in and then testify.
Right.
I mean, so that would have to be worked through the chief. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are you going to get us a picture then, or should
I
we?
will, I'll
mean,
take one.
I can stop down tonight.
Can I?
Sure.
I live at, my name's Ashley, I live at 115 North Constitution, just diagonal. So I have a video from 1:30 in the morning of the strobing lights and scrolling. It just shines directly into my bedroom window every day. So,
Can you shoot
So
us a
when-
copy of the video?
Mhm.
That'd be great.
Ray, did you want
I live at 116 North Constitution, and our TV room faces the alley between us and the old Itso property. We can't sit on our sofa in the TV room and watch television without closing the shutter or pulling the Venetian blind down on account of the lighting.
From this establishment?
Yes.
from the
Oh,
picture.
okay.
Yes, from that
All
establishment.
right, well, we have 3 citizens that are eyewitnesses, so as far as I'm concerned, I think we send a letter.
Yes.
So if we send them a letter, and this happens again, they just keep getting letters, or is this, if you get letters within a 6-month time period, something else happens, or we just have to reset the clock every time?
So this is a violation of the zoning ordinance, which makes it a civil offense. The zoning ordinance is worded that the defendant, in this case, has to make progress towards compliance in 15 days and be fully compliant in 45 days, which is why you see this property already listed in your code enforcement report for other other violations that were already sent. So we have to document some type of progress in 15 days, and they have to be fully compliant in 45. So outside of that 45 days, if everything's removed and reinstalled, the clock starts over again.
So how can we rectify that on the 46th day that he just doesn't go back to 24 hours again?
There would have to be an amendment to the zoning ordinance under the violation penalty section.
Aren't there some penalties that state a repeat offender after 3 times gets a different penalty?
Usually not in your zoning ordinance because of being a civil offense, not a criminal offense.
Can we address that on our, put it on our agenda to address it, because I see a lot of the situation with the New Freedom after these offenses, and it just gets reset, and they move this, and then it's back, and, you know,
Yeah,
we need to address it.
we can put it on the agenda for next month.
Thank you.
But just remember, there is a difference between civil complaints and criminal complaints.
Can we address both?
Yeah, civil,
Please.
the only civil relates to your zoning ordinance. Everything else is criminal.
Okay, Kathleen, in 21 East Main Street.
The first picture on the front is the actual, we had to go back to Tractor Supply to get a picture of the original tent in our backyard looked like. If you go to the next page, last summer, we had a 10-minute storm come through and rip the whole top of the vinyl off. And that's the only picture I don't have is the inside of the tent. You can see where it ripped it in the front.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next page, in order not to have to spend another $400 on the same size tent, we put vinyl aluminum siding in. That didn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, the tent had originally been up in our yard for 3 years. Earlier this year, we got a letter saying we had a building in our backyard. We had to pay for a permit.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and did that. Now, also after that, we were told that it had to be inspected. We paid for the permit. But I do have a, how do you determine how far you have to move a building? What's the determination on how far you have to move a building from a
From a
property
property
line?
line?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure that you would call this a building per se. I mean, this is kind of a temporary structure.
It is. It's not on a foundation.
You can move it anytime you want
Yes.
it to.
Well, Andy and Wade came out to my house, measured the width of the back alley, told me I had till October to move it 6 feet from the property line. Now, on the next page, you can see how small all these yards are in back of New Freedom, all of them. The very first shed in the front is where my husband keeps our snow blower. In the winter, he snow blows the whole back alley and the whole top portion. And the guys, when they're out there snow plowing, can't stop thanking him enough for helping them. So my question is, and on the last page, if we are forced to move that tent 6 feet from the property line, where are we supposed to park that truck? That is our truck. That tent has a boat inside of it for when we go crowding during the summer months. There will be no room to get in and out of the backyard, maybe 6 inches on each side.
So whose property line is it? Is it
It's,
the alleys? Is it the alley property line?
no,
Is it-
this tent is in my backyard,
Right.
my backyard, under my carport,
Right.
or right in front of it. Carport, the tent, and then the little shed. So I also did some digging over the months and found some items, which I've highlighted for everybody on the next page, about structures that do not qualify for certain things, like having to be moved 6 feet. There is no room in anybody's backyard whatsoever.
I have a question. So in this picture, where this gravel starts going back, that's where the alley is right there. So it's your yard.
Yeah, that's my yard.
And this is your gravel to where the alley starts?
Yes, that is my husband's truck, and the little car in front of it, that is mine. And then in front of the tent is another car, that's his Toyota.
Thank you.
So my question is I don't think this tent should have to be moved at all. You know, we will have no way to get in and out of our backyard, like I said.
So
And if my husband continues to snow blow the back alley, how's he gonna get the snow blower out to help?
So you have another car parked on the back side of that tent
Yes,
before
ma'am.
you even get to the
Yes.
alley. So it's like not on the edge of the alley, and somebody's
No.
not gonna knock their mirror off because of your thing.
No.
Good.
I think it's right where it should be. And I don't feel that me and my husband should have to move this 6 feet and be stuck in our backyard at all times. Or walk out the front door and walk all the way around the block, just to squeeze between a tent and a fence to get in my own backyard. And this house used to be my father-in-law's. We bought this almost 5 years ago, Bob Batters. I don't know if any of you remember Bob Batters. I know Kim does.
Sure do.
But, I would just like some input as to whether we technically have to move this 6 feet. I was told by Wade to, get my property surveyed. He looked at the fence, if you're standing in front of, like this tent, when you look at the fence next to it, it's all crooked and lopsided. I said, that's not my fence,
So,
that's my next door neighbor's.
I have a question. So the 6 feet that he's referring to, is he talking about the side? The side of your yard?
He told me I had to move it 6 feet from that.
All right, so.
So, yeah,
okay,
so
that-
go
that's-
all the way across my
yeah,
backyard.
I just wanted to make sure that I understand what direction you're talking
I
about.
mean, thank God my husband and I are skinny enough if we had to literally squeeze 3 inches past that.
What's the total square footage?
12, I think it's 12 by 2, it comes out to 240, even, right on the nose. I think, yeah, because I have it highlighted in here. And that tent is 240 square feet. It's 12 by 20.
How many square feet is that?
It's 12 by 20,
12?
Yeah.
which comes out to a total of
240.
240. Oops, sorry.
So you come to the exact number?
Yes,
Okay.
because we measured it, and we have given in those measurements before.
Okay. So I have a question for understanding. Does changing it from a tarp to have siding somehow change how we define the structure? And does this change, I mean, obviously, whether it's a tarp or siding, it changes the permeable surface of the back of the lot.
And the only reason we put like the vinyl siding on it, because, I
Yeah,
mean,
tarps don't last in this.
I know,
Yeah.
and 10-minute storm,
Yeah.
and ripped the whole entire top of it off.
Yep.
Didn't do anything to the siding, but the whole, and, you know, we had the boat in there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta do something to keep it
Yeah.
safe.
If they put a tarp over their boat, that wouldn't be considered a structure, right? So we can't call this, I mean, I'm asking, but we can't call this not a structure?
That's a structure, it's a non-attached structure.
But it's not on a foundation.
It's a non-attached structure.
Now, this says, utility and miscellaneous structures, however, that the following shall be exempt from such compliance. And it says it includes detached carports, detached private garages. Isn't this a detached carport?
That's what I think that we can.
That would be exempt under the rule?
Well, this says uniform construction code, this doesn't, we're not talking about, which we should be, is the zoning ordinance and the setback requirement that's contained in the zoning ordinance for any particular, for a structure. that applies to the setback, applies side setback, front setback, rear setback, whatever you want, whatever we're talking about. This is construction code reference, but we're talking about zoning ordinance and a setback issue for a structure.
I thought if it was a movable structure, which this is, it's movable by definition. You can pick it up and move it.
It can go right on the property line.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to have a setback.
And can I bring
That's
one
my
more?
understanding anyway, I'm just
Can I
asking
bring
the
one more
question.
thing to everybody's attention?
Sure.
The third page from the very last page, if you look up at the very top, where it says that this should be exempt, it says Borough of New Freedom, additional code compliant. On the next page, I have the exact same thing highlighted, and it says Pennsylvania Code.
It doesn't apply. It's a uniform construction code that does not supersede the borough's zoning ordinance. It does not. That's what Mr. Sarver was just
But
explaining.
Andy, what I'm saying, this is not on a foundation. If I have to go to the state of Pennsylvania, I will, because I know somebody that's already done it.
They're not going to help you with
Oh,
this.
yes, they will, because they're just making up their own rules here.
The problem is you're approaching borough council, you need to be approaching the zoning hearing board.
Just to
This
say,
is the
you
Why-
zoning ordinance. This
could
is,
go to the zoning hearing board for relief and make a case that you know, for some reason you can't comply with a setback, it's a hardship or whatever, and the zoning hearing board can rule on it. It's a 3-member board, it's independent of the borough council. The borough council cannot influence, tell the zoning hearing board what to do, what not to do. They're independent of the borough council, and that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it's been set up. And while we're talking here, I'm thinking, yeah, zoning hearing board, and you have a good case for a hardship. I mean, not a special exception, but you need a variance, okay? And you have to have a hardship, and you have to demonstrate a hardship to be able to get a variance from anything that's in the zoning ordinance that applies to something like this. And this is a setback.
and even if you do not agree with the requirement that the zoning officer set forth, you can ask for the zoning hearing board to basically rectify that decision. So it's not even a variance, it's not a special exception, it's you basically disagreeing with the opinion of the zoning officer.
Why would I have to go through the zoning board when this is on my property?
Because you
It's
live
not-
in New Freedom Borough, which has a
Can't-
zoning ordinance.
Can the council declare that this is a movable structure and that it can stay where it is? They have to go to the zoning?
It's in the zoning ordinance that it needs to go to zoning hearing board.
There's just a proper procedure, it's not, I mean, we're not trying to be difficult or harsh, it's just the way the procedure works. And if, it would have to be the same for me if I did the same thing. I'd have to go to the I've gone to the zoning hearing board before for this, so.
Like I said, it's like a tent, as if somebody really came out in it. I mean, and you're telling me I have to go to the zoning board?
And if the zoning hearing board agrees with you, they can make a ruling that, okay, it's not a structure, it's a tent, so we'll give you relief on that or something. But that's their decision, it's not a borough council decision, because this is a zoning ordinance issue. We're not, you may not believe, we're not making anything up, that we have a zoning ordinance that applies to everybody, every structure, every property in the borough, depending on what zoning district you're in, whether you're in a commercial, whether you're in residential, kind of residential, et cetera. And there's certain requirements in each one of those districts as far as setback, okay? And that's a distance any structure has to be from a property line, or front setback from a right-of-way line for a street, for instance. And the best place to do this is at the zoning hearing board, and explain your situation, your predicament to them, and let them make a ruling on it. They can, you know, they like Andrew said, you know, they can say, okay, the zoning officer, yeah, okay, we know what he said, but we're gonna rule differently. Or if you want to consider it a hardship and give you relief that way, they can do that. But the borough council can't do that. We just can't willy-nilly
So
waive the
you're saying
requirement
even
of the
though
zoning
this
board.
is not on a foundation, I still have to go to the zoning board?
We have structures in the borough that aren't on the foundation. People that have sheds,
You have a
et
shed
cetera,
sitting
it's not on the foundation.
On gravel, that's kind of what you have, is a
But
shed
it's a
sitting
structure
on
that
gravel.
applies.
And it's, you know, at 240 square feet, but the zoning hearing board has to make a determination, we can't do it.
And when is that meeting?
The next one is,
Well, you'd have to apply.
Yeah, you have to make application.
When is that in October?
That would be the 4th Monday.
And I need to make sure I get longer than October, Andy. Because you and Wade both told me I had till October to move this, or it will need to be moved by somebody. That's reasonable.
Was it the 19th, I think, would be the next time to be scheduled?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I didn't understand what you were saying. Yeah, but
I'd say what she's asking is reasonable.
yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah, you guys told me I have till October to move that.
Well, I mean, but you're taking the proper actions, and you're doing what you need to do.
Well, I just
So-
want to let Andy know,
but
make
just for
sure I have longer
clarification,
than October.
your setback is 3 feet on both sides. It's not 6 feet.
No. Andy, that day, when Wade measured the back alley, you looked at him and said, "What do you think?" And Wade said 6 feet from the property line.
It's 240 square feet. It's a non-attached structure, which means it meets the definition of a utility shed for size, which means it's 3 feet on both sides.
Well, he did not phrase it that way. He said 6 feet. I mean, if it is 3 feet, Wade should have phrased it to me that way. Then I probably wouldn't have to
What
be
does
here
your
tonight.
permit, what does your permit application say?
Let's see.
Is it on there?
It should be on here. I'm not really sure if it's on there or not.
Do you have the actual application filled out?
Yeah, behind their application, it says setbacks not indicated. But yeah, I mean, that is correct, I mean, it would be 3 feet. So if you have 3 feet, you're okay. If that's what you're saying. If you have the 3 feet, you're fine.
But you'll have to know where your property line is to be able to set that.
Oh, I guess that's probably why Wade told you that you need a survey. But you can probably get property lines from, if you go on the county maps document, is that sufficient?
You can get measurements off your deed.
Right.
You gotta know where they start.
Where they start, yeah. But usually you know, if you, I mean, if you had the house a while, you know where your property line is, and you can measure it from that spot. And if you're 3 feet or 4 feet, you're good.
Well, my question is, even that, how do I get in and out of my backyard? That tent will cover up the whole bottom of my backyard.
Moving it 3 feet?
If we have to move that 3 feet even from this side of the fence, 3 feet over, it's gonna cover up the whole bottom of the backyard.
Is it up against the fence now? Is that the problem?
It's not right up against the fence. I mean, there's enough to get through between there and that fence.
Is the fence on the property line?
That's not my fence. And I think that fence is
Doesn't-
on my property line.
Doesn't make fence, I think if I'm not mistaken, the fence can be on the property line.
Two,
Yeah.
but not one, yeah.
Right, up to, right at the property line.
And I'm not paying, I don't have thousands of dollars to pay to get it surveyed. I'm not doing it.
No. Why don't you go, I'm gonna have to ask you to go to zoning and then
Well,
call.
yeah, I guess I don't understand now, because before it was, you can't make the 6 feet, but now you can't make the 3 feet on either side work, because it's gonna be in the middle of the property, so I think you need to decide what you want before you make application, because the story just changed a little bit.
I think it's fine right where it is. If I had my choice.
Yeah,
I
understand
mean,
what
it's
you're
doing
saying.
no harm to anybody. So I have to go through the zoning board.
If you can't meet the 3-foot setback on either side, if it's 240 square feet or less, and you can't meet the side setback, which is 3 feet,
Well, I can't because then where are we gonna park my husband's truck?
I understand what you're saying, but that's not the zoning ordinance's problem. That's the ordinance as it exists. If you can't meet that, you need a variance, which is the zoning hearing board.
Then I want to know when it is.
You have to make application.
Next one's the 19th. I don't know if they can,
What do you mean I have to make an application?
Can you mail her the documents, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're online. Can I ask, just for me, how did this all start?
I know who reported us, but I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
it was
fine.
somebody here in New Freedom that reported us because we had to have something done that they put on our property and it had to be removed.
Okay, you don't need to go any further. I was just, I mean, you know, that is the purpose of the zoning, though. If somebody has an issue and they report it, I mean, that, you could have gone till forever with that there, and nobody would have paid any attention to it. But as soon as someone brings it to the attention, then that has to be addressed. So that's what Wade's trying to do, and that's why the zoning hearing board, and that is the procedure that we go through. So I think the proper thing would be go ahead and file with the zoning hearing board, go to the meeting, figure out what they say, and then, you know, you definitely are welcome to come back and tell us what the result was. And in the meantime, I'll try to talk with Andy and Wade and see if there's anything else at all that we can do. I mean, if it's been reported by somebody, then, you know, we have to address it.
may I ask a question? What is the difference between the structure that she's talking about and the shed that's already there? If that shed can be there, why can't that structure be there?
Yeah, and the shed was there when we bought the house.
Well, that may be.
Well, that may be grandfathered, and if the shed was there when you bought the house, that's a different story. But if you put this structure up at some other time, you know, it's a different story. If the shed was there when you bought the house, and if it didn't comply, it's grandfathered. It means, okay, we aren't gonna pay attention to it right now. You don't have to go, we're not gonna go retroactive and say, well, it doesn't matter, it was there when you can't comply, we were not gonna move it. No, if it was there when you bought the house, you bought it, if it was there, maybe it preceded the zoning ordinance, you're okay. This is a little different story, though.
Not quite a target.
See, I can't figure out why the person that reported us waited 3 years until we put that vinyl siding on it.
You'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't.
Would you like to, unfortunately, they're saying you have to go there. Would you like to get those papers offline, or would you like Andrew to mail them to you?
He has my email address, he can email it to me.
Email them to you?
But I just want to make sure everybody comes on my property and removes that tent until I go to this zoning meeting.
Yeah, we'll make sure that happens. You'll have enough time to do it.
So I'll be looking at for tomorrow, Andy, when I get to work. You have my work email address. Unless you want me to email you and give it to you again. Okay. Thank you.
Shakina Brown, 101 South Broad Street.
Yeah.
I thought it was only 7.
Sorry?
1 second. Looks like Bernadette has got something before she leaves.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. I had mentioned it at the planning commission meeting and then at the zoning, and it totally slipped my mind, but I have it highlighted here. And this is the elimination of signs. I think I mentioned it briefly, but flashing, rotating, and intermittent signs are permitted only in the central business district. This is a residential district where we're talking about these signs, so they shouldn't even be there. And this is item C, elimination of signs, Borough of New Freedom, PA sign regulations. So, sorry, I was remiss in
No, it's a good point.
mentioning that.
Glad you did, yeah.
So actually, they should,
So they'll have to remove the flashing, spinning signs,
It has to comply with the zoning.
along with 10 PM.
Correct.
No other lights.
That's 11 to 6.
I'm sorry?
thank you.
Brown?
I apologize, I only phone 7.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, my name is Shekinah Brown. I am the owner of Family Care Personal Care Home here in New Freedom on 101 South Broad Street. Just to give you a brief information about what the personal care home is. It's a residential home that we take care of the elderly and individuals with disabilities, mental disabilities. We house the homeless individuals that have medical needs. We are certified and trained professionals that basically assist the elderly population with all their medical needs, as well as showering, bathing, dressing, feeding. We prepare all of their meals. We provide medical assistance with their primary care providers. We coordinate health services. And we are licensed and regulated by Pennsylvania Human Services, Department of Human Services, which means we are a 24-hour care facility. We are trained medication tech that administer their medications up to 4 times a day. Like I said, we are 24 hours. So I have to have staff there every day, 24 hours, 365. So, which in turn means that we go through rigorous trainings. We have 12 credits a year. I am an administrator as well, so I have 24 credits. I am also a direct staff care. I work 80 plus hours because we are so short-staffed. So if you go through the packet, basically the average cost though for a personal care home is around $3,600 a month for our residents. I am a Alpha Home, which means we are part of the Alliance for Low Income Personal Care Advancement. So basically I admit individuals that cannot meet this $3,600 monthly average cost. My average right now is less than $1,600. So I'm basically taking care of individuals every day for like almost $1,600, if less. I have one resident that only can afford $840. But keep in mind, I have to provide all food, all toiletries. I have to pay staff 24 hours around the clock. But this is something that, you know, would put in my heart to do. I want to help everyone that I can that has medical needs. I've been a nursing assistant since I was 20 years old, for like 20 years almost. So I don't want to shut people out that cannot afford this high bill. But unfortunately, it is costing a lot. It is putting a lot of our Alpha homes in financial burden and hardships, and there's only 7 of us left in York County. I am the only one in New Freedom. Medicaid and Medicare does not help pay the cost for anything. All of our residents pay out of pocket, or they pay with all their Social Security, like disability funds each month. So I mentioned already the low income. But what happens when you don't have the funds to pay for the system? So basically, we get our residents from like nursing homes and that do not meet that level of care anymore, and they need a place to stay. They need someone to help them with those activities of daily living. So the state of Pennsylvania has a state supplement program. However, this program is not an instant apply, so you cannot apply and be approved today. It typically takes like 3 to 6 months for this program to be implemented and actually the funds increase. So what happens is, say for instance, of a resident only has $840, the state will supplement to match to $1,400. We have to give them $85 back a month to have their residential funds, So we get approximately $13.95 a month to cover all expenses for the care of our Pennsylvania low-income individuals. And the question is, can the supplement programs support our houses? And it's really no. That is not even food. You know, if you go to the store, it's like 60 eggs cost $15 now. We use 30 eggs just for breakfast, one day. So we're looking at 30 days of just like trying to make ends meet, trying to satisfy our residents because, hey, you know, we like to eat 30 eggs. So the cost of food is going up, everything is going up. We are expected to do so much with so little funding. We've lost 50% of our housing, and 2 Alpha homes are closing this month as well. So I don't even think the 7 is a real representation. I think maybe like 5 or 6 now. So, but the need is so high. If you call hospitals, there are so many people that need housing that cannot afford this average cost for personal care homes. So as you guys know, the cost of food services is provided.
Have you applied for COVID relief money?
So that's why I'm here. Just briefly, these are 2 residents. The first lady is not my resident, but her story is basically she's been in a personal care home for 34 years. So our Alpha Homes has supported her throughout her many years. She's now 93. So what do you do when you have residents like that where they cannot afford places? So we need to stay open. We want to stay open. The second resident is actually my resident. He has been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So he's elderly as well, but we cater to all population. And since he's been at my facility, he has had any hospitalizations, but he was in and out before. We help him with managing his medication and giving him the community, that family that he needs, that structure that he needs. So what happens when personal care homes close? Like I said, we have fewer in the county. They remain in nursing facilities when they really don't have that level of care. They get transferred in personal care homes so away from their families. I had one lady call me from, I'm not originally from here, so like the county was like 3 hours away. But her family was here, and they don't want to, be that far away from their family, especially because I got into that. COVID has really put a big burden on facilities like myself and small businesses and everyone, but especially small businesses. Or they remain in the hospital. And we wonder why, like, you go into the hospital and it's like 3-4 hour wait because people are there that just do not have anywhere to go because of their income. And this constantly, that's the number one reason or main reason why they cannot be placed in the community.
Are you 501c3?
No.
You're not nonprofit?
No. I'm for profit. I had to, but I'm not for, I'm for profit, sorry. But and also,
Okay, I have a question. When their funding runs out, what do you do then?
okay. When the funding runs out, what I'm here for today is actually basically a cushion or it's a boost to help me. During COVID, long story short, so say, I'll paint a picture. COVID hits, I had 3 residents pass away due to complications, and they weren't the ones that were like low income. So here you is, the 3 people that were bringing in the most money are gone. It was a freeze on admissions. Staff was sick, they quit. Then repairs, we had a plumbing issue that was a lot of money. So a lot of things had to be ignored that shouldn't have been ignored. And then it was like hard for me, for all of us to sustain, like to get back into that and be able to hire. Because now you go to Brothers and they pay you $19 an hour, but here I am, I'm just offering what I can because I have a little budget and I'm losing staff. I have someone last day is the 18th, which is Sunday. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have to work. And the fortunate thing about me, I was a nursing assistant. So I have that hands-on, but I'm a human being too. I am working like 80 hours I can't keep doing that and expect me to stay healthy as well. So,
Another question. We have many churches in the area. Have you approached any of them if they would be willing to help a little bit?
no, you guys are my first stop because Miss Kathy Gartman is our like president of the alliance, and she basically gave me this information. So like, because I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm having this. So churches will be my next stop. I'm just here to
There
try
are
to.
quite a few, and you know, and it's part of our community, so I would think that Christians would be very open to this.
Right.
And so I just wondered if you have gone that route, or if you're thinking of going that route.
Well, I'm here to take suggestions and
How long have you owned this personal care?
I've owned it for almost a year, but I've been introduced to this personal care in 2019. I've known the previous owner who basically lost everything, and fortunately, I have experience, so they reached back out to me to basically help not close the facility, because they were gonna close it. And we have 15 residents, so 15 residents was gonna be displaced. I came in and kind of, I wouldn't say that, but
The things that we could possibly help you with is if you had a delinquent water bill, or if you had, you know, I mean, those would be things that, I mean, we couldn't tell you tonight what we would do, but those are things that we could look at and possibly either work out a payment plan or do something for you along those lines. But we really don't have the funding to subsidize a for-profit business, even though it's really compassionately driven.
well, what about the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act? Those fundings were initiated through COVID, which is basically our main reason why this personal care home is on the edge of like closing. Because like I said, that picture I was trying to paint, those things trickle down, and basically now the staffing is still low. It's just like a snowball effect, basically. COVID has put.
Excuse me, some of the ARPA funds, the way they're set up, goes down to a for-profit business. I mean, is that legal?
It is.
We didn't say kill ice.
Excuse me.
The last determination is basically the governing bodies have the ability to direct those funds.
Right, the first 10 million of ARPA funds is basically no strings attached.
So it's up to, again, the governing body to make those determinations. There were set guidelines before, but that has since given way to spend it as you see fit to better your community.
And I have plenty of ways where I can spend this on my personal care home to help us. I had pictures as well to show you and demonstrate some things in the home that can use repair. The plumbing system, there's an older home, it used to be a doctor's office.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really, really, I have pictures of the sinks that is like outdated, it's dripping. I have a $3,400 water bill. It's astronomical because those things were ignored during the pandemic. We had to buy gloves and just all these PPE that wasn't part of the budget at first that put a strain on us. Staff leaving, residents passing away. It's just, like I said, a snowball effect. But the ARPA funds support urgent COVID response efforts, replace lost public sector, it's all in your folder. Support into immediate economic stability for businesses. So there's reasons why the ARPA funds and that can help me and other Alpha homes. And provide premium pay for essential workers. We are essential workers. We work 24 hours, 365.
I know you said this is your first stop, but have you thought about talking to the state representatives?
Miss Cynthia is trying to point me in different directions to help with funding.
Okay.
So this is my first.
Yeah, another resource could be food banks in the area.
Food banks get, well, actually, we get, when I first, it was like donations, and But that is every once a month or so.
I
That's
think,
not a lot.
I mean,
We don't have SNAP benefits,
I
we don't
think
have
what I'm gonna
anything.
recommend, and this is just, I mean, I'm getting cold here, so off the top of my head, I think we need to put together a couple of people, and maybe Inga, you could head
Yeah,
this up.
I-
But
you
I
know-
think there should be at least
I
two
mean,
people.
you know, I'm a
possibly.
payroll now with the Republicans, and
And possibly-
Dr. Oz happens to be the person that I'm representing. And just doing that, I'm a shot, I'm gonna payroll, I was gonna give it to charity anyway, I was gonna take it. They made me, you know, do it that way. So I will do it that way. And I certainly, I will meet with him next week. And I always believe, when you look at a person, that if he's really just mouthpiece or if he's really gonna do something. And another thing though, do you get any volunteers whatsoever?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Did you ever think it would be, I'm a retired nurse. It's wonderful to get, you know, they used to have the pinkies and the stripes and stuff, you know, I'm an old bag, but it used to be that way.
Pinky stripe.
But you can get people interested, plus you can get them in the nursing field, period.
Well, let me share
Well,
my thoughts.
I wanna stop, I don't wanna cut you off, I really don't, but I really do think that this needs to be taken
I
to an
really don't think
offline
that.
meeting.
I really don't think that, because the ARPA funds are here. The ARPA funds are here, and I qualify for assistance under that. I do.
I mean,
COVID,
I think-
that's COVID relief
But we
funds.
need to do our due diligence too. I mean,
Which
I
due
don't,
diligence?
well, I mean, you just walked in here, I don't really know you. I need
You can get to know me. I'm willing to do whatever. I have
Right,
14
and that's-
residents
but
that I
that's
take care
what I'm
of.
saying is it's not appropriate for us to stand here and spend the next 45 minutes.
How about to take it 45 more minutes?
I'm just saying what we need is to have a couple of people to sit down with you, take
Okay.
your application, figure out what we can do, and then let you know at that point what we can do.
What about we have some good contracting companies in our community that might have extra, you know, they took something out of somewhere and they have extra, you know, such that
Oh, yeah, there's all, I mean, there's all
So
kind of things we can
maybe
look at.
reaching out to our community of
Mhm.
businesses that.
You've got the Lions Club that just did a ramp for Mrs., what's her name, Peel? Or Peace up on Bond Street because she needed a ramp, she just had a hip replacement. They have contractors, they have electricians, they have plumbers. They might be more than willing to help you or make a donation, and I can put you in touch with maybe coming to one of the Lions Club meetings and making a presentation. But I'm gonna ask you, and I may have missed your answer, did you apply for COVID funds when they were available?
I did not, because I'm a new owner. So here
You've
I
been
am
there
now.
a year, when did
Almost a
COVID
year.
funds stop?
It was a previous owner that did a
Was
lot
that
of
before?
things.
Okay.
I think that was.
And I do have to say something else, I just looked, indirectly, we really are helping currently your residents, because every month, we're getting 6 and 7 ambulance calls to your facility, and we are not getting paid for those calls. We're losing money, and the borough is paying.
You know why, sir? Because I don't have the staff there to assist each other, to work with each other. If I had 2 staff, I would need ambulance to call. But like one of my staff, she called because one of my residents falls. If I can't afford 2 staff members at a time, she has to have assistance with.
But we're supplementing you in providing ambulance service that we're not getting paid for, because your people are Medicare, Medicaid patients. We're losing $300 every time we come there, so
Let me
that
ask-
way we're supplementing.
Excuse me, let me ask the solicitor, I mean, obviously there needs to be an application process, there needs to be some kind of review, there needs to be due diligence to make sure of where the funding is going to go if we provide it. Those are the things that we all need to look at.
I think that's the prudent and reasonable thing to request for a municipality.
Right, so
Ms.
that's what we're going to have. Go ahead.
The one thing I would suggest you do is it sounds like you have a revenue problem, a cash flow problem as much as anything. So if the borough would give you a lump sum, I think it'd be important for you to show whoever you work with, how that helps extend the life of the Alpha. If it's a Band-Aid that only buys 2 or 3 months, that may not, I mean, you gotta show what the value of that, you know, if it's just fixing that, do you own the house?
No, not yet.
Right, so you don't even own the house.
It's a rent to, that's the
Rent to-
contract.
Right.
It's a contract.
So if you move out in 3 months, because you can't make it work, you've now spent however many dollars to fix a property you don't even own.
Not yet. I'm in the process of owning it.
I
So I
understand
wouldn't
that.
do all of this. I wouldn't come here, I wouldn't do all of this if it wasn't for the long.
All I'm
run.
suggesting is maybe if you can work up like a business plan and how that influx of money would help you to continue your
That's
existence.
what's needed.
I think that would go a long
We need
way
to
to
look
helping
at
the
all
borough understand.
We could take
Just,
the
I'm
senior
here to
center
get
as an
information
example.
to know what to do to receive assistance.
Well, I think your next step is you need to sit down with somewhere between 2 and 3 of us
Okay.
Yeah.
and explain your business plan. And,
I'll volunteer to be on that committee. My mother-in-law stayed there for
Oh,
a
Okay.
period of time before
That'd
she
be great.
passed, and it was very well
so
taken care of.
Inga and Dave,
And it's right next door to my house.
Thank you.
and you have time to get involved whenever they sit down with her for due diligence. So all we do need to do then is come up with a time, day and time.
When is convenient for you?
Your call. Whatever I can
Because
fit. I can fit into
tomorrow I'll
whatever
find
you
out
got.
if I have another surgery, but I tell you, I'm gonna be there with bells on, but give me a time that you would have it.
I'm good anytime, so whatever works for you, I'm good.
Okay, how about if I call you tomorrow after I have my big visit?
Okay.
Is your contact information, this is back here, this is a good phone number for you? It's a cell phone?
717-373-5205.
All right, so we have that, and as soon as we set up a meeting, we'll get in touch with you. It'll be, this is Monday, it should be before the end of the week.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
You call me tomorrow, and we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was here last month about the drainage in the backyard, and I just would like to know what, if any, progress is being made, because as of 2 hours ago, the drainage pipe is still at least half submerged in water and dirt, and there's standing water on the side of
I
it.
think Andy probably has an update.
Yeah, it's
today.
It's under unfinished business. It was gonna be discussed later. We can
Just move up to now.
Okay. So we've had a lot of communication back and forth with Era Consulting, who's the borough stormwater engineer, working with York County Conservation District as well as DEP. We're trying to get permission from DEP to basically dredge out that channel. In early Zoom and virtual conferences with DEP, they indicated that we would need to apply for a joint permit between DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers. We tried our way around that to do it under a GP3 permit, which is a general permit, which would allow us to go in and clean out up to 50 feet, which is not the entire length needed, but it would make a big difference to allow that flow to reestablish. However, during review of their pictures and profiling, they indicated that there was a plant species that was indicative of stormwater channels. We're trying. So we went back through with additional pictures and additional profiling, and as of this morning, we received an email from DEP that they talked about the project internally. It sounds like, from what they're saying, they agree that it's an accumulation of sediment, but they are thinking that it may fall into the GP3 permit for gravel bar removal, but if there's additional work, that it would be that joint permit. So they're
I have a
asking
question.
for additional photographs and cross sections, and
I
we're trying to
understand what
provide
you're
that.
saying about the permits, but the builder created this. He made a major change in the lay of the land.
When you
So-
say the
Create
builder,
this.
you talking about Burkentine?
Yes, I am.
Well, the
So why doesn't he have to fix what he messed up?
So the Conservation District completed all their inspections during construction. Their limit of disturbance was the upper, I guess we'll say lower side of the bank. They worked within that limit of disturbance, and the County Conservation District says that they did not change anything according to their inspections and everything. So I understand what you're saying.
Anybody that's lived in this area for any time knows that there was a major change in the lay of the land.
So
That
that water
land used to
used to
just
sheet-
slope slowly down to
All the way to the
Weyerhaeuser.
creek.
Yeah, well, it just, but now it's like this drop off where they built down and then put a berm on top. So that not only do we have that mess over there, but that funnels the water back into the yards too. But I guess I just don't understand, if he created the problem over a year ago, why does he not have to fix it?
Well, I think the answer is it's not a problem in their eyes because they built it according to plan.
Yeah.
It is to you, but to the state, who approved the NPDES and the County Conservation District, they did everything they were supposed to do according to the plans that the state and County Conservation approved.
Right, well,
So-
the conservation says that it has to be fixed from the letter I got from them, that it has to be fixed and that the problem is the boroughs, not,
Right, that means that's why it's not on the developer, because as far as they're concerned, he did everything he was supposed to do, and just now,
so why
unfortunately,
can't you make the developer do what he's supposed to do?
because he did everything he was supposed to do in accordance with the plan that was approved.
It's obviously, it's a mistake. We have, right now, we have a police roof that's leaking that we have to write specs for, that Andy's expediting, but we have to write engineering specs and get a bid and open a bid, and it's 2 months down the road before we get to put a roof on. We have your area that we have to get DEP permits for, and I am not of the nature where I like to wait. I just see a problem and I like to fix it. And you're the same way. You see your problem and you want to fix it. Your problem literally is 2 hours with a backhoe and it'd be fixed. And we're all frustrated because we have to wait for the permits and Army Corps of Engineer, and it's out of our hands right now, but we are working as hard as we can diligently to get the necessary permits and make sure that it'll be done. And I told you it would be done last time you were here, and it will be. We will figure out a way to get it fixed.
But you have no idea when.
It's probably gonna be a month or two. I mean, I can't imagine it's gonna be before.
If they say we can go in and do that 50 feet of work, that
would help.
That would be a big help to,
Yeah,
again.
because it's all, it's so full of weeds and everything that the water, even what's there, can't flow properly. Like I said, it's backing up, as you know,
So
in the
Andy,
2 yards.
what you're saying, there's not a PNDI issue review required here then? Or there is PNDI review required?
If it would be a joint permit, it would be.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the problem is if we get to the joint permit with the Army Corps, we're not touching this for a year.
Yep.
I'm just saying that's the way it goes with those folks. The Army Corps and a joint permit, it takes
At
9
least
months
9
just to,
months.
yeah, at least 9 months. But I'm guessing a year is more reasonable.
If it's a joint permit situation, if you go ahead and do the work, you know who's gonna get fined?
How much?
Maybe it'd be worth it.
It depends on what we touch and whether there was a species in there we shouldn't have touched, and, that's why you wait for the permits, because.
If
So
there's a
you're
species.
saying there's some kind of weed in there that's causing all this trouble?
They indicated a couple species of plants that are only apparently grow in stream channels.
So you're calling it a stream channel. You're not calling it.
All right, I just wanted to know you're working on it. And, you know, meanwhile, my yard is rotting and, you know, but it's okay. I know you're working on it.
All I can do is apologize. If there was something I could do to make it happen, I would.
Well,
So the
I'm
problem
just
is
glad
because
to know
there's-
that it's a weed that's causing all this trouble.
But the water that's not draining down into the stream is what's causing that weed to grow. So it's like a two-edged sword. I've walked down there and I'm still looking for my sneaker that had sucked off my foot. You know, it's. Oh.
You can give me a couple numbers that DEP can talk to, make that argument.
Yeah, it's not a good, I don't like these situations because they're out of our hands. And all we can do is keep.
Going on to buy a turtle or something.
Yeah, find a turtle.
Well, you're gonna, soon, it's gonna be a swamp. And the other question I have is, we're not gonna go to them and say, there's no way you can get a mower down through there. They can't mow. So if somebody complains about the grass being too high, and now we got milkweed and everything else growing, we're not gonna go back on them and,
Obviously not.
right?
Right.
I want, oh, she left.
She's here.
I just want her to be aware.
Anyone else? Going once, twice. Okay. Next item is approval of the minutes for the council meeting last, and I would entertain a motion to discuss.
Make a motion for the approval of the council minutes from August 8th, 2022.
I second.
The motion and a second, discussion, corrections? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
It's too loud.
Yeah, I know, it keeps fluctuating. I would entertain a motion for the treasurer's report. Just a quick one. Under Robert's rules, and the solicitor can correct me if I'm wrong, because I forgot to ask him about this, but under Robert's rules, we really can't approve a treasurer's report. We can approve the treasurer's report pending the audit. So I'm going to ask for a motion that we approve the treasurer's report pending audit.
That'd be the annual audit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an annual audit.
Okay. The one that was just completed a couple months ago.
Yeah, but they didn't do this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report for August 2022 pending the audit.
I second.
First and a second, discussion?
On page 12, the 41,000, that was for public works, right?
Page 12, you said?
Water construction application for, that was public works, right?
Nice application.
Yeah. It's nice to have.
Yeah, should be only one payment application left, and that's the final. And I would anticipate that in the month of October. That's around 27,000.
On page 19, I think you talked about this before. Rec pays for porta pots in the park?
That would have been for the concert.
For the additional one, correct?
Yes.
So when they have an event, they pay for them?
Correct. That is a budgeted line item for recreation.
Any other discussion?
I have a question about page 13. Matthew's Garage generator, is that something that they're repairing? About halfway up.
Nice generator invoice.
Yeah, repair and maintenance supplies. It wasn't up at the firehouse, was it?
No.
I think we had somebody else that came in for that.
Yeah, I thought we had a separate service for generators.
We do, yeah. Just wondering if we got filters for the generators?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, honestly,
Must have some, that was for the wastewater treatment plant, was it?
no.
General.
I honestly am not sure about that one, but I would love to find out.
Right, sorry, I didn't get that one in earlier, but I didn't have my.
I don't know if that was a copy paste error maybe,
Okay. Right, that was all.
and that, correct, that is the one for $164.95.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question, and I don't know if now's the time or wait until we get the EMS. I noticed the fuel for ambulance, and I would ask maybe that council or you take a look at those figures over the years. We're only using 17% of the ambulance in New Freedom. Do we get any reimbursement from Shrewsbury Township or Shrewsbury for fuel?
Only for workers' comp, not for fuel.
Is there a way that we could bill them for fuel since they're using our ambulance basically? We just seem
It
to
should
be
be on
paying more
Rose.
and more and more for everybody else.
It should be on Rose, I think, to solicit those donations from surrounding.
Well, they do, but then it goes to them, not us. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
So is there a way that we can be reimbursed for our service?
We had always treated the fuel for the ambulance and for the fire company as part of New Freedom's donation to Rose. So I think it's valid if Rose goes back to the municipalities to collect that money, but I don't know that
It would be
that
proper
we
for
would,
us.
yeah, we wouldn't take it from them. I think we would, that would just be part of our donation to Rose.
Now, workers' comp, we do get reimbursed for
Correct,
that.
reimbursed for workers'
So,
comp.
I guess I was just thinking, can we get reimbursed partially for fuel?
Well, the EMS law requires the workers' comp to be split. It does not require that. That's the difference. It's not called out.
I mean, we could, I mean, if you're.
It really has
Council
up
certainly take a look at
over a year. I mean,
Yeah, it
you
does.
look at, just this month, what we, and like I said, only 17%. We had 96 calls, I think, this past month, and not us, but
And we can look at that when we get to budget.
all right.
Yeah, it's valid.
And the vehicle purchase on page 12 for $14.94 from Stuart Amos.
That was the radar module for the message board.
Radar.
Newsletter advertising? Is that for, we didn't put out a newsletter yet, did we?
Where you at?
I'm sorry, 13. I know we had voted to put out a newsletter, but I thought we were doing that at the beginning of the year. It says advertising general newsletter, $407.04. I thought maybe there's something I'm not aware of.
No, I mean, we did put a survey out, but that did not cost, obviously, $407.
And we don't have a newsletter going out?
No,
until
the
next
first year, correct, yeah. Again,
Okay, I thought maybe I missed
No.
something. in the wording.
I will check.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, with those two things that Andy has to check, I would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report with those two corrections, pending
the audit. Oh, we already did, you're right. All in favor of accepting the treasurer's report pending audit, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, March Goodfellow Park.
Just a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not, is that your correct name, sir? Are you Mr. David?
Auditor.
You're Mr. David?
It's not misspelled, it's Bryce.
No, just because it says Kim Butcher, and clearly you're not Kim. I don't think.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to make sure I had the right name. I had to relieve my staff, so I just didn't want to walk out. So I'm sorry.
All right, thank you for
But
coming.
thank you for your time. Don't forget your umbrella. That is so good.
Thank you. Come in handy.
Yes, it will.
Okay. March Goodfellow Park improvements, it was tabled. We're still in the process of getting together the funding for the site plan.
Correct. We're working with Warehouse to develop a proposal for a master site plan.
Quick question about that. Would that be, what if there was another park that needed an improvement? Would that be under site development and parks, or is that
This would
typically
just
like
be-
one location?
This would just be for Marge Goodfellow
Okay.
because of the available amenities. Other parks could still get in, or still eligible for any kind of improvements that are desired, sure.
Yeah, I didn't know if it would be, the site development plan would be one specific site or?
It is.
Okay.
So that just still stays on the schedule. SRPD, third amended intergovernmental agreement. As Kim said, there really hasn't been any progress, and it's, I think it would be not appropriate for us to even consider voting on something until we figure out what's going on with Glenrock.
There is a meeting, I think it's the 20th, for anybody that's interested. IGA is at 6 o'clock here, police finance is at 7. So we're pretty much wrapping up. They've given us approval ahead of time to basically whatever the budget it turns out to be. The commission has already passed it. Whatever we need, and they're willing to accept that. Now it's got to be whether each municipality is going to accept it.
That's kind of, why don't you wait till you get to the mayor's report? This is just specifically the IGA. Okay, zoning signs, Article 8, Chapter 225. This is just an update.
Just an update, we had the request about 2 months ago to make the sign ordinance amendments. We were able to pull together, specifically Shrewsbury Township recently went through a sign ordinance update. So we took their complete ordinance and it is about 90% complete, being tweaked for new application in New Freedom. So we're hoping that we can have a draft review. Again, that's a zoning ordinance, so that'll have to go to the County Planning Commission, Boroughs Planning Commission, public hearing, and then final approval by council. So we're still working for that, but as I think we heard earlier tonight, there are definitely some changes that are needed to clean up that zoning ordinance and requests from local businesses.
Will this allow things like Eden Tool to put a second sign up on the street, other street
Well,
side?
I mean, things like that can be considered during the draft phase. So.
Right, okay. Yeah.
We'll get a copy of that before it goes anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
thought so.
yeah. All in draft at this point.
Okay, next item up is approving the ordinance replacing Chapter 188 Stormwater Management. This has already been, this has been advertised.
Correct.
And this is just the final approval. We've already discussed this, so it's Chapter 188 Stormwater Management. And I would entertain a motion to accept.
So moved. Second.
First, second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
My vote is aye. Okay, next up is approving an ordinance replacing Chapter 95, open burning. This has already been advertised. This is basically what we discussed, I guess last meeting, I think it was last meeting, for open burning and replacing it with this chapter. So I would entertain a motion to put this into the ordinances.
Make a motion that we approve the changes.
Inga seconds
Second.
that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, consider approving an ordinance amending Chapter 199, Article 8, Volunteer Service Credit Program. This is the fire service that we talked about, and to get 100% borough real property tax and up to $500 earned income tax levied by the borough. This is what we proposed last time, and this is the final for this. So I would entertain a motion to put this into the ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. Any discussion?
This matches what other municipalities are doing, correct?
It does. It actually, Shrewsbury Township just passed theirs, and, you know, we've had, hopefully, somebody will put it in on Facebook that we approved it also.
Yeah, because they thanked Shrewsbury Township and the borough before, I almost did, but
So
Yeah,
that, the
that-
mayor's
that
page,
will
that's a
be on
good
there.
spot for the mayor's page.
There you go.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. And we already discussed the stormwater channel. Okay. New business. The new business, the first is to consider approval of the low bid from Kinsley Construction for the crosswalk improvement, and we have some show and tell items.
Yeah, so you have the information in front of you, and I did have Warehouse put together some information about the products that will be utilized for these improvements. Everything from the poles, decorative pole assemblies, to the thermoplastic itself, to the flashing beacons. And if you remember, this goes back probably almost a year now. It's, again, the borough dealing with red tape, trying to get these crosswalks in place, dealing with PennDOT to get everything permitted. So everything's permitted. The first round, we did not receive any bids. Second round, we have a couple bids here to consider. Obviously, Kinsey Construction with the low bid. The last couple pages, I'm going to say the last 3 pages of your packet, give you a good visual of what these improvements will look like at the intersection of the Heritage Rail Trail, Main Street, and Franklin Street's not shown, just to kind of give you an example there of what it would look like at Main Street.
And 20,000 of this is coming from?
Yeah, $20,000 has been allocated from the Trailtown community, so that will be in the form of a donation to the borough, then to pay the contractor, so obviously reduces the total expense by $20,000. I do have 2 samples that were sent from the manufacturer here. This stamped red, again, this is basically, if you consider it a hot iron that goes into the surface of the wearing course and stamps and impregnates the crosswalk onto the blacktop. So it has a higher life expectancy, doesn't wear as quick, obviously, as latex paint or any kind of just rubberized latex.
Would that section of roadway be repaved, or this is just going over the existing roadway?
So because it was just repaved last year, you have the time frame. We're still within the time frame that this can be stamped. Outside of that, you would have to mill it out and repave, wait, and then come back and stamp it. So as you can see in those diagrams, the red would be your actual crosswalk surface, and then it's delineated on either side with thermoplastic white markings. Obviously, again, all this has been already approved by PennDOT for the use of the state road.
is that kind of what I brought back to you from the convention? Looked just like that. And it was stamped. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very nice. And the life expectancy is long enough, and it would have to be redone, but the cost would be a lot lower, because you would just be basically taking out and remilling
Right, I mean, your life expectancy on the thermoplastic is 10 years, which is a decent investment when you think about the amount of not only foot traffic, but vehicular traffic on both of those streets. And again, this was the design to create kind of a boilerplate as you move north and south from downtown in the borough.
And the cost to redo it is probably only about, what, 30,000, I think we figured.
Yeah, at that point, you're not going to, obviously, a lot of this cost here, you're looking at your decorative pole assembly, your infrared bollards, the installation of all those. So, you know, that's over 3/4 of the cost of this project. Reinstalling the thermoplastic is pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things.
Can I ask a question? I'm looking at the pictures, okay, and it's beautiful. It's more than what I expected. I was hoping just to get white lines and a lighted sign. And it's very nice for our downtown area and businesses. If you look on the next to the last, well, really, both pictures, you see that there is sidewalk and then there's stone. Can we
That's
put
all going to be
in,
cleaned up.
it has been, what
It
is
will
that,
be.
asphalt?
That'll all be concrete there.
Can they do concrete all the way up to the railroad ties or the tracks?
On the south side of Main Street?
Yeah, south
that's-
and north.
That's all gonna be cleaned up as part of the project.
Okay, because it'd be nice to have full sidewalk or some surface other than the stones.
We met with the NCR when we were proposing this project, and we did discuss adding that extra concrete in.
They liked it?
What's that?
They like it?
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure they do.
Oh, they asked for it
yeah.
originally. You can't get down.
Originally, I asked for it 2.5 years ago.
No, but they've asked for it many times.
I know, we needed it.
That's nasty.
We needed it.
I don't think I requested a motion on this one, so I would consider a motion to approve the low bid from Kinsley Construction for the crosswalk improvement project.
Make a motion that we approve the bid for Kinsley Construction.
I'll second.
2 seconds. Any other discussion?
Just about the usage of it, I'm assuming there's gonna be a button on here?
So PennDOT would not allow us to use buttons, they're infrared bollards.
I did see something about infrared on here, but I
Yeah.
wasn't
So they'll be installed, so every time someone passes through, whether it's bike or pedestrian, it'll trigger the flashing signal.
But
Oh,
now,
that's cool.
but how close to the roadway is that?
They will be set back off the trail.
So on the, let's just say, away from the road, on the other side of the red, like
Yeah.
rail gate?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
All
on
right.
both sides
I
of
was gonna
at
say,
both
you gotta get that close to the roadway, that
Yeah.
kind of defeats the
Yes,
purpose.
PennDOT pretty much tells us where we have to put it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't.
Because
"Oh,
what
can
I'm
we
used to
do is
seeing-
This you will do.
Yeah, what I'm used to seeing is a push button
The
actuation.
solicitor just found it's 15.7 feet
On the north side.
on the north side.
That's,
But Frank,
Doesn't say on it.
Yeah.
Says there's a 50-foot range for sensors.
I guess Kinsley has a copy of the PennDOT permit identifying where these are to go. so-
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a whole plan set that went with the bid.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, the one thing I'm just curious about, what type of does that have a good surface, so if that gets wet or anything, that it doesn't get sort of?
That's a good question. Yeah, it is, they actually use crushed glass to provide some resistance, and it meets all ADA compliance now. So, yeah, that is a good question, because a lot of the early thermoplastics, they did not have that, and they were extremely slippery, so that is all changed.
potential installation?
As soon as possible to make sure we get in them before it gets cold.
Okay, because I let the kids group, I guess it's probably been about 3 years since they first came.
Yeah.
Let them know, and they said that they were very excited, so I wanted to
is so cool, yeah. I'm glad they're still involved, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them have kind of moved on. I don't think they're doing the robotics side of it,
Graduated, married,
but
kids.
almost, before you know it.
Takes a while to get these done. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, next is the peer-to-peer study for the rec director. This is to be advertised, right?
This is a resolution
Oh, okay,
by
so-
council accepting the peer-to-peer study.
Okay, so this is a.
You don't need to have, yeah, resolutions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to consider approval of the resolution accepting the peer-to-peer study.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
Didn't really talk about how she's funded in here.
That's
Or I'm
actually
sorry,
in the-
I'm sorry, just the person.
Yeah, so the peer-to-peer study is just about the need for one. That funding will come under a circuit rider grant, which will be a whole separate agreement.
So this part of the peer-to-peer has nothing to do with any monies, it's just,
They're just recommendations, and DCNR requires you to go through that peer-to-peer study before you apply to the circuit rider grant. Once you apply to the circuit rider grant, you have to have the intermunicipal agreement already in place, which defines those costs that you're speaking of.
didn't it say the grant money has already been expended?
Just for the peer-to-peer. So this entire project was $11,000. However, we received funding from DCNR for $10,000 of that. The other $500 came from Shrewsbury Township. So basically, this entire study cost New Freedom Borough $500. And again, that's just to align us to get additional funding, so it's kind of like.
Can we call this red tape?
Then you can, again, call it red tape, yeah.
There's been a lot of red tape.
So do we get into what are the restrictions and requirements of the grant, or is that part of the next?
When you say grant, as far as like the circuit rider?
Yeah, that's separate from this part of it?
Yes.
In
This is-
paying and making sure we can keep this person after
Oh, yeah.
this kind of goes away?
Yeah, that would be through the intermunicipal agreement,
So
and
it's
that's.
the next part.
Yep, that's the next part.
We already know that their salary's covered in full the first year, and then 3/4, and then half, and then 1/4, and then we're on the hook for the whole thing. So it'll be split between Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough. So we kind of know that, but I don't think it's written down, well, it's written down in the circuit rider itself, but hasn't been approved for us yet.
And the funding through New Freedom, and not to get too far ahead, but the funding will most likely be on a per capita basis into that intermunicipal agreement.
So Shrewsbury Township having to say more people would pay more than New Freedom Borough?
Correct.
Okay.
It was a bit confusing in here, how it starts out talking about the rec commission, and then it switches to a rec board, and then it talks about a rec council.
It's probably because the rec board calls themselves the commission and the council. They probably work, depending on what meeting, depends on what meeting you're at.
And some of that could have been a difference between Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough, having two separate boards.
So my confusion is, are you talking about creating a whole rec board that will oversee our rec commission and Shrewsbury's eventual commission? Is there a third one that's overseeing them? Or are you talking, when you talk about board in here, are you talking about bars? It was just very confusing.
Yeah, so when they're talking in here, most of the data was gathered based on what Shrewsbury Township is currently doing and what New Freedom Borough is currently doing. And then that process is to take those two and merge through a new regional recreation department.
So will we no longer have our rec commission?
Yes, it's, so a
Yeah,
whole idea.
basically, I don't want to get too far ahead, but the new intermunicipal agreement would establish a new regional rec commission that would take those existing boards and merge them into one.
So our Mary Ann and her people are going to work with the new people in Shrewsbury, and they're gonna meet once a month as one?
Correct.
Do they know that?
It hasn't been
That's why I said, I didn't want
finalized
to,
yet.
we haven't finalized everything yet. We're
Okay,
just
this is the first
pulling it.
time.
Yeah.
That's why this is so confusing. I don't know who you're talking about, if it's somebody new, and,
Well,
so when
I
you
mean-
say board in here, you're talking about the new one once they're joined together and formed. Is that what you're meaning here?
If they're using it in that context, yes.
I guess what I envisioned was we would still have Mary Ann in our group. They would still have their group, and then there would be some people, maybe 2 from there and 2 from here, and that would be the intermunicipal, which would deal with things like we're having soccer at Miller Park, or we're having a concert in March Goodfellow Park, but we wanted everyone to come, and they're gonna advertise it there and here. So it'll be both groups, but there'll probably be some subset attending a meeting to discuss intergovernmental type events. That's what I envision. I don't know how it'll actually come.
If I may, the purpose of an intermunicipal agreement is to delegate certain duties of the municipality to a joint group. So Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough would say, we want this intermunicipal board, to oversee recreation in New Freedom Borough and Shrewsbury Township.
And that intermunicipal board consists of people from each of those
Yes,
that are
and
already
we-
currently on it.
And it's, yeah, well, they don't have to be. I mean,
They don't have to.
yeah, we can say 4 people from New Freedom Borough, 4 people from Shrewsbury Township, and 1 person from the school district. We did that, so Andy and I did this in Spring Grove, Paradise Township, and Jackson Township. And that's what they did. They got together, and then they had someone from the school district sit on the board as the tiebreaker, because they had an even number, and then they put someone from the school district, and that's because they let them use their facilities. That's getting way down into the weeds, but long story short is, that's the idea, is you take some people from New Freedom, some people from Shrewsbury, and they pull the resources that they can use for recreation. And they kind of sit as an oversight committee. And if they want to have subcommittees to do programming in each of the municipalities, they can.
So I was a little appreciative also, the steering members were 2 from New Freedom and 2 from Shrewsbury. And I understand that we have a rec commission and Shrewsbury doesn't have one yet, they need to form one. But was our current rec commission members not part of the steering committee to come up with all of this?
They were interviewed. Yeah, they were part of the interview. Yeah.
When we get back there to that, there was 7 people interviewed. I don't know where that is. The steering members decided who those 7 would be, so
Not
7
necessarily.
key person interviews were conducted through scheduled meetings or phone interviews picked by the steering members. So was this insight gleaned from these 7 members part of our rec commission people?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Well, I guess my question, this is a lot of work that went into this, and a lot of foresight, and a lot of vision going forward. How much of this vision is from our current rec commission?
Well, they were interviewed during the process.
What does that mean?
So during the peer consultant sat down with us on that steering committee and said, okay, here's who I should interview, how do I make those connections with those people? So both Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough provided contact information so that peer consultant could reach out to them directly.
Those 7?
Yeah, and go through her questions on whatever they were. And Ryan, I think you were interviewed, so what do you see as recreation and down through, what are the needs?
Were they only contacted at one time, the rec commission, for their ideas and their own vision and foresight?
I know she followed up once or twice, I don't know.
And keep in mind, this is only going to be where we overlap. I mean, we're going to have our rec commission, Shrewsbury's going to have a rec commission, and it's going to overlap, and this part is going to be joint activities. Like it might be Shrewsbury Township might use the community center to have some kind of an event. The rec director might plan on having a child's play time in the community center. Or they might have a playtime at or at Miller Park with soccer nets and stuff. So that would be an overlap. But all of this would be communicated to both sides, and it would all, the whole purpose to doing this was so that we could qualify for the funding to get the rec director.
That was my question. Also, where does the rec director fall into this? We're merging together, and now we've got this extra board. Where does the director kind of come into all of that?
As far as employment, or?
Guidance, and we're doing this, and how things are, just the day-to-day operations.
Yes.
Are they stationed in New Freedom? Do we have to give them a car? Are we giving them office space? Who?
That's all of you decide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're thinking, that you're going down the right path, and that's
Uh-huh.
exactly the path that Todd and I have been already going down as far as drafting this intermunicipal agreement. And again, when I say draft, it's a rough draft at this point. But yes, I mean, we have outlined in there who that rec director, who they're an employee of, how the benefits are paid, who's reimbursing, where their location's going to be. So that director will report to that newly created board. But we're discussing on that Shrewsbury Township and New Freedom Borough should have the say in who is hired for that. But as far as other employees down through, that would come from the newly created board. So again, a lot of getting into the weeds, like Solicitor Jones said, but all those details are being attempted to be worked out and presented to both governing bodies.
And they're all open for discussion
Oh,
in
yeah.
the process.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just in the
Nothing's
beginning.
decided.
And that was a question I had. Repair and maintenance, $900 in the rec fund. What are they repairing and maintaining?
That's in there for any of like pickleball nets, tennis nets, things like that, I think was used in the past. But I don't think they actually used any of those funds so far in 2022.
While she's still looking, what would be, is it too early to have some kind of a timeline when those conversations would be? Is that like 3 months, 6 months?
Which conversation? Well, I'm sorry.
About some of the nitty gritty, about what you were just talking about.
Todd and I both, I'm sorry, both hope to have this presented to the board, both boards in October, November at the latest.
Boards meaning council.
Yeah, sorry,
and-
council and board of supervisors. And again,
Okay.
and that's just
October.
preliminary talks.
So basically the rough draft first
Oh.
round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says study of the survey results in this report were gathered during the winter of '22.
Maybe January, February, it could be, right?
Yeah,
So
actually, it was
about
early
that.
this year, yeah.
I was listening, I'm like, we're not in winter yet.
Yeah, no,
Okay, so
early.
We're on the
yeah.
backside, or they were on the front side.
Yeah.
That was the backside.
I feel like it was about that time from when I talked to her.
Yeah, it was.
And then the director will have some responsibility directly related to the operation, management, or maintenance of the park areas. And I thought we took that all away from the rec commission. They were in charge of nothing. They just did programs and this and that. So
No,
now it's
no,
going
this-
back to
Yeah, it
the rec
really is.
director?
Like, for instance, right now, we have tables that are gonna be inspected by a borough employee. That would be done by the rec director whenever we have a rec director. So, or staff, or the rec director's staff, right? But that would fall under the responsibility of the rec director to basically take care of the community center, show the community center, rent it out to somebody who was having a dance or whatever.
And maintenance of park areas?
I think that's
It's probably
more,
catch-all kind
I
of
think
thing.
that's more, it should be direction and maintenance of park areas to both bodies. So if there's issues that comes to Miller Park, that individual will ask Shrewsbury Township to fix the public works to, just like they would ask New Freedom Borough to.
They're not gonna be cutting the grass, they're gonna be, but if they see something that is broken or they notice, now, as an example, like we had a problem last year with wasp nests in the pipes for the soccer goals. So Public Works came in and sprayed and took care of that. So that's what a rec director would do. They would make sure everything was safe and.
Again, if you think about it as the borough is not going to be programming and being involved day to day, that's the whole idea of that rec director and that rec committee, or rec board. Because they're, and we'll get the exact thing down, but the idea is that they take that off your hands. So they're hands-on, so there may be things that come up and they'll report back and say, hey, we need to, like Andy said, mow the grass or fix this or fix that. It takes some of the burden off the borough and off the township for doing that and expending resources. And they put together a budget, and the budget comes back to you guys and the Shrewsbury Township to fund each year based on the per capita. And then that's kind of how, it kind of takes on a life of its own.
It kind of sounds like it's going to be changing dramatically how our rec commission operates.
It may, yes.
It is. I mean, I think that there's going to be a ton more, I'm hoping, there's going to be a ton more programs. And our rec board is going to be directing the rec director, you know, we want to see this, or this. But one of the biggest issues we've had with rec, that rec has had with rec, is they don't have enough volunteers to do everything. This gives them an actual person who they could say, go do this, and they would go do that. And it might be a day in the park with 5 to 7-year-olds, or it might be grandma or grandpa and grandchild doing a clay modeling, painting thing, making something for Mother's Day, or, you know, whatever it is. But it would give you direct hands-on person who would do that kind of stuff.
If we need to have more vendors up at the markets, which apparently we do, they could go out and try to solicit new vendors to build that program up at the markets.
Yeah, but, you know, it'll be a good thing.
So you say in October, you're hoping to come back with all of these parameters of this rec director? Is that what you're coming back with?
Just the draft of the intermunicipal agreement for your review.
For the rec director, or more of this?
For the rec director and the intermunicipal agreement. So the intermunicipal agreement gives authority to have the rec director in place. And then that board will be tasked, one of the first things is once all that's created is creation of the bylaws, which both municipalities will have to review and approve those bylaws of how that board's going to operate. So there are steps that have to be in place.
When you say that both of them have to look at it and decide what these bylaws are, who from our borough is deciding what these bylaws are?
Whoever the borough council appoints to
Well,
the
it'll
board.
be the entire council.
It'll hopefully be whoever Mary Ann selects from rec to go to this and start the whole process rolling.
So they're gonna have a role in
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
deciding these bylaws?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the next step in the process.
I'm done.
Any other questions? Okay, I already asked for a motion. We have a motion. Okay, good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, this next is the minimum municipal obligation for 2023 for the pension. You explained it earlier.
Yeah, so this is required to be done in September of every year for the pension plan. The calculation is on the back there that we put together. The majority of these funds, historically, that requirement has been basically a pass-through, that money that is received from the state, with little requirement of the borough to match those funds.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the minimum municipal obligation for 2023.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, next is the New Freedom Lions Club requests for two community center uses. The first is vaping, and probably a good thing. And then,
Wouldn't it be 3 uses? I believe one of them was for 2 different dates.
oh, was it? Did I miss it?
Yeah, there are two different ones.
Yeah. They're saying December 15th for one.
October 19th.
October
Oh, yeah, I said two uses.
Sorry,
They're they're just the 2 dates, right? October
I thought I
19th
read
and December,
What's December
this one?
15th one? I don't.
that's a blood drive.
Blood drive?
Yeah.
Blood drive, yeah.
I'm sorry, maybe I read something online that they had 2 things scheduled.
And
I'm not withdraw my vote.
I
Okay.
have a question. The Lions Club gets 3 free uses a year. They come and they ask for these sorts of uses for our community so that when they do other things for fundraising, that they're able to use the community center 3 free uses that time.
That's correct.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay. Need a second? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, invitation to bid. This is for Borough of New Freedom. Oh, no, good one.
Yes. Regards rep.
Oh, consider authorizing, the advertisement. Oh, I did miss one?
There's nothing.
Oh, okay. All right, consider authorizing the advertisement of an ordinance amending chapter 183, solid waste and recycling. Do we have something?
Yeah, so I need to work through a couple things. The last time it was updated was like 1991, the refuse ordinance, and I think that the recycling one was about the same time. So basically, we've been running contracts that are nowhere in line with what our ordinances say. So we're amending the definition sections and a number of other things. We can certainly circulate that beforehand, but it needs to be adopted before the new contract is in place, because the contract makes reference to and incorporates the ordinance to that contract.
So the current contract is good to go through December, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So
But we have to advertise to get bids in.
Yeah.
So how do we go about getting this to council for them to consider it before it gets advertised?
We don't need to, we just need to make sure that it complies by the time the contract is in effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we need to authorize advertising it tonight?
That's up to you guys, that's up to what you want, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, the changes that are made are just to align under current standards.
You have the refuse specs, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna align with that, it's gonna say same things.
Well, we will get
Well,
an
I
idea of.
I guess all we're doing is advertising, so we can advertise it, we're not gonna approve it till we read it. So it's not gonna be a
advertise
Pelosi
for
bid
bids
where,
for contracts.
Right, yeah. So
There are
I
only two, I think there are only two, don't we have to have 3 bids?
No,
Okay.
I mean,
you
there
can
is
only
no
have one bidder, and you can award as long as you publicly advertise it.
Who are the locals? It's
Penn
Penn
Waste
Waste
and
and
Republic.
Republic, I was thinking.
I mean, I'll give you, it's like, for an example, you guys defined unit of refuse as not more than 70, a quantity of refuse having a maximum gross weight, including container of not more than 70 pounds. The current is 75 pounds, so that's not in there. We don't talk anything about toters.
So it needs to be 50, right?
What's a total?
Toters,
Garbage can.
Garbage can that's on
Has the
wheels.
metal on it,
It has the
lift
metal on
it.
it, so they can lift it up with an arm, so they like to do
Are
that.
they gonna make us do that? Have you
It's
talked
up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
Oh, I thought they mandated that.
They say they won't bid on it unless you tell them.
Correct.
Well, the problem is
I remember
we have
when I
so
talked
much,
about that one time.
we have so much street parking. How are they gonna get to the toters?
That's, well, they come out the side, don't they?
If
Yeah.
you've got cars parked and they've only got, you know.
Well, if you've got a garbage can that has to be accessible to them, they have a thing that comes down the side of the street.
It's off the back of the truck, they just picked mine up the other day, like, if they don't have anything on the side of the truck.
They don't,
Well,
so
I
the
guess-
new ones do it.
Say unless they're
That's what
gonna
I'm
change
talking
what they're
about. I've
gonna
seen
do.
them, the new ones do, they come up right off the side, and dump right in the middle.
Because they can't find people to Again, if you're on South Front Street and everybody's got their car parked there, there's no way they're getting a toter off of there with a side loader or back loader, or, and maybe if they had a cherry picker, they could probably pick it up, but it's not coming off from a side loader. So, I mean, I just want to be cautious, because I don't want to put into the contract something that there's no way we could possibly do. Unless you put the trash on the other side of the street, that would be a possibility.
Right, but we just have to remember that they're two separate things right now. So the first one is to get the ordinance in
Right.
line with the
Right.
refuse contract.
Okay.
And the second is to authorize advertisement of the refuse and recycling contract, so we can get prices back early enough that we're not in December trying to figure out who's gonna have our refuse.
I apologize.
No,
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, yeah,
But
I understand. We just got,
we need to keep that in as an option, because you're going to have a significant increase if you do not give the haulers the option to go for eliminating.
I would just suggest that we drive the streets and make sure that there is a spot that the residents can put the trash can so that the loaders can get to it.
It's a concern
South Front
downtown.
Street, it might be on the other side of the street, that might work. Some of the streets, they're not gonna be able to get in to pick it up. So we're gonna have to go drive around and figure out where they can put the cans so that the loader can get to it.
And that's
That-
another issue, because your ordinance actually says that if you have frontage on a street or an alley, they can pick which one they wanna put it on.
Okay.
So those are the kinds of things we have to work through in the ordinance
Okay.
to address. Yeah.
They can pick which one, not us.
The property owner can pick which
Oh,
one, the
which-
way your ordinance is currently drafted.
You don't want the
Okay.
property owner to pick, we have to be able to
Right,
tell.
we wanna
the
tell them
property.
where it goes to meet the contract.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, again, you haven't looked at your ordinance in a very long time.
Okay.
And that's part of it.
So then I will accept a motion then, or consider a motion to consider authorizing advertisement of an ordinance amending chapter 183 solid waste and recycling.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. I think we've discussed it to death. Got anything else?
Andy?
Sure.
Now, what would that affect, you know, like you have your large trash day? Now, would that affect any of that? You know what I mean?
No, we have large item in there, but you have to call and schedule it. I don't, do you guys have?
a lot of people don't know they have to.
Well, so, and I got the answer from Penn Waste today on that. Under our current contract, the municipal services rep said they do not have to call. However, under the new contract, you will have to call.
See, and I was told, when I had something out there, they didn't pick it up, I called them and said, well, you've got to call us, and we'll come down Saturday and pick it up.
Well, it does make sense,
Confused.
right? Because, I mean, they only have so much loading capability and, you know, sometimes they only have one
Well, in the
driver.
last 2 years, things have been pretty.
That's really where it's gone, is they don't have the staff. They used to run 2 trucks, and they had people doing the large item pickup the same day, you didn't have to call. Most municipalities who recently bid have all gone to that. So you might have gotten the wrong person, but didn't realize what municipality you were in and told you the wrong thing. That's a lot of what's going on, is my understanding.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, because I know some of the people, when they put stuff out, they had some pretty big things. So I was gonna, you know, like, for all of that in one truck would be kind of a difficult.
We do require that they bid that, it's just how it's being
If we accept an option, this loading, you know, the cans that the prep owners have to use is gonna be amenable to use with the truck's loading device, everybody's gonna have to get a new can, right?
The hauler will supply.
Oh,
I have a 96-gallon toter. You can put a lot of stuff in a 96-gallon toter.
put louder than that.
You could too.
Yeah, there you go.
But the problem is where you put them, where you store a 96-gallon toter and a 60-gallon recycle toter.
Yeah.
Right? Because you gotta have some outside space to keep that, and you have some tight spots downtown where people where they put those.
Yeah, I have one of those, that's pretty good size, but it is the kind, you know, they can roll that
Yeah.
out, and then that hookup they have on the
Yeah,
back.
they're fine, yeah.
Pick that baby up and dump it, that's quite a.
Okay.
Currently-
Anyway, so right now on the table, we have authorizing advertising the ordinance amending chapter 183. And that's really just going to be bringing our guidelines up to date. We will have a chance to review that before we approve it, but we're going to go ahead and give permission to advertise it so that we can.
Yeah, if you guys are really
Not smart.
uncomfortable, we can give you the draft.
I'm
And
not,
come back
I'm
and
not
talk about it.
uncomfortable. I mean, I think we should be fine. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Yes. We ought to, when you draw all these papers up and everything, stress to them, because what they do with my trash can, it's like in the middle of my street. And I have to go out there in the rain and what have you, pick up all the trash, because, you know, they wanted to search what was in the trash can and just throw it. Now, that's just not right.
Yeah, there's a penalty if they're replaced or
It's
destroyed.
it's gotten worse, it's gotten really worse. So I accept that, you know, you can find people to work, you know, you have a hard time, but it's not necessary to just dump it and throw it, and then I have to go, because I respect my neighbors, and pick all the paper up, you know. It rolls all the way down to Singer Road sometimes, I have to go chasing. Now, I just don't think that's right. They ought to be informed that there's a certain protocol, you know, at least leave it a little cleaned up, you know.
Is this recycling or trash?
This, with the trash, even with my trash. I have to go down there and little papers and, you know, stuff, when it's windy, it blows. I'm going to this neighbor's house, I'm picking everything up because it looks horrible.
Is your trash in a bag? Is it?
Yeah.
My trash, I have a new trash can for the regular trash, you know, it has a lid on it.
Yeah.
It's connected.
He's saying what you take and put in your can.
Do you
Is it
put
in
your
the bag?
trash in a bag and then the bag in the trash can?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's still blowing everything?
Yes,
Is it
because
recyclable?
they literally open, I watched them.
Who, the garbage bin?
Yeah, I watch them.
Yeah, nobody else.
I saw them open, you know, like it's one of those things that you tie up.
Yeah.
And then, because I think that's a way, very nice, I like it nice and clean. And I think, and then they look in there and then boom, you know.
We
And
can't
then
get
they
them to
only
collect, we
get
can't get
part
them to
of it
collect from
into the
houses.
truck.
I don't know if they open them up.
I know you can't comment on it, but it's a fact.
You sure they're not checking your trash because you're on the Republican committee now?
That's
They'll be seeing.
Hey.
They'll be seeing.
I heard the Democrats are on one up.
You know, I actually thought about that.
All right.
But anyway,
That
no,
will be,
you
that
know,
will be in the
I'm happy that we have the trash. Now, many people, they pick heavy-duty items up and everything, very happy, you know. But I just think they need to be aware, be a little nice.
On the
Well, it's
topic,
nothing to be nice.
on the topic of cans, if you have the old recycled coat before the blue trash cans we have now, and you need to dispose of that, do you put it out and they take that? Do you turn that back into the borough
That's a
office?
really good question.
Where does that go?
Options. Our municipality, they allow us to keep them, which I keep them for
Yeah.
overflow, but yeah, they will take them.
Yeah, if
We're
they're
trying to
damaged,
find
you
it.
can write on there that it's trash, that goes to recycling, or if you bring it down here, we'll exchange it out and give you one of the new ones, and then we dispose of it.
Recycle can?
Yes.
They're just trying to get away
I
from
gotta
having
laugh.
people throwing packed trash on the back, so. In our municipality, they had gone to all the side loads, and that toter, they put it right down where they picked it up from, because it's a
Well, they-
straight up and down motion.
Yeah.
It goes down, they
Some
never get anyone
trash
out.
people, like in the south or something, they have these trash cans, you know, where the machine picks them up and.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's a very, very nice
That's
thing.
exactly what
I really, really like that.
So, regarding the advertisement of the Norm ordinance amending chapter 183. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
If I were allowed to make a motion, I'd make a motion for a 5-minute break.
We have a call for a 5-minute recess.
Oh, recess.
We are there.
Body break.
Oh, wonderful.
When you're on Lasix, you know.
Yeah, that's
After John.
We gotta keep the camera.
You want to get out of the meeting? I'm gonna call tomorrow. You want to be on the committee for the?
Yeah, I'm sitting there ready to come out at about quarter after 5, and I'm sitting there and watching TV, and next thing I know, I look up and it's 5 after 6, or later, about 4 or 7 after that. I said, where am I missing?
I just want 3 people.
So I had to hustle, you know?
It's okay.
But I can,
Tomorrow night, I'll find out.
just give me a call.
Good work.
Yeah, because I mean, that.
I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can, but then you know, we have a,
That's a good idea.
thing on Wednesday afternoon.
So as far as.
That's you and John Smith. They're talking about the sewer plant about.
So we don't get.
How was it? Wednesday, I think, at 1 o'clock. I think that was, I have to look at the time.
Working team, because we can do.
Yeah, I just haven't.
Just radio. So we say, hey, we have. Kind of set up with them. Because they also at the beginning of the month, they said this, we have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We need reads on the 15.
Yeah, that's so Sunday does.
So we would be able to give an ideal form, because you don't really need to, are you personalized or just? Okay, so we would be able to get you new purchases and
And maybe something that could be, this is new decision coming up, but now, summer, winter, fall, beginning of fall.
Create this new record commission, Shrewsbury Township thing.
Like whatever,
And you three, I wonder how many other areas have it.
So that's
So now you got to
something
set up with your record. That's another payment.
Oh, yeah, either, I know.
And oh yeah, it's the first 4 years, it's kind of cut.
Do you consider that soliciting? So on a day, you may pay a list and you have to go out and shoot whatever.
And then, how much freedom do you give up to choose to do what you want in your area compared to the whole area? You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's not, the person who's taking over the women's ministry, so it's not something that's because but they need a board, that information and kind of. So I will tell them.
Yeah, instead of government, it's smaller to get fair. My friend from Sourcetown she said they could take the they were out to start away.
Okay, we're back. Sorry. Oh, no problem. Anytime. Okay, now we're going to consider authorizing the advertisement of the refuse and recycling contract. And you have in front of you the bid, request for bids. And again, we're probably only going to get bids from the 2 main ones, which are Penn Waste and Republic. Anyone, of course, is invited to bid, but I don't know who else would have the manpower facilities to bid. So I would entertain a motion to authorize advertisement of the refuse and recycling contract.
You got
I have a first. I have a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. Cautionary note.
I mean, we're headed into a time when landfill prices are going through the roof, and we're gonna probably have to be a little bit creative with, whenever we get these bids back. What, do we pick 2 days to have trash picked up, or go to 1, or whatever, so, just a cautionary.
Will you get a?
Yes, he's getting multiple bids.
Okay, for one pickup a week or 2?
We're gonna have, option 1 is twice weekly, option 2 is once weekly. For refuse, always 1 large item, and recyclables once weekly. There'll also be an option for a 3- and 5-year contract in that.
How much notice can we give people in the community on this? Because there's some people who will swear by the need for twice a week.
Well, I think we have to get the bids back first.
That's, okay.
Well, I mean, we do, because I mean, if, let's say it came in and it was the same as we're paying now. Well, then, there's no reason to change. But it was a joke.
That was a joke.
But if, if it comes in and it's twice what we're paying now, then obviously we have to do something. And we would have to make a recommendation as a council. And I don't think that, I think we're gonna have to pick what was best for all of New Freedom and not just for somebody.
I agree.
Yeah, so I have a motion and a second to advertise for bids. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay, next up is the lease with Tasteful Occasions. I think everybody has a copy. I have no idea what I did with my copy, but everybody has a copy of the. Yeah, it could be. Oh, no, I have the lease. I'm okay. I didn't have this sheet. So Andy put together a draft lease, and it's at $1,900, which is a very significant increase. I mean, their lease before, which was a long-term lease, which we've not been allowed to change or could not change legally because it doesn't expire until December of '22. So now we can change it, and they were actually effectively paying $390 a month, which just really kind of barely covered the utilities. So this lease is for $1,900, and you can see this worksheet in front of you. When Andy gave me the lease, I ran this analysis. Full disclosure, I used to have apartment buildings, so I mean, I'm used to doing stuff like this. Square footage in our area without utilities and furnishings, I found examples of $4 and $12. So that low was 4, the high was 12. So if you take an average of $8 per square foot per year, now that's not per month, it's per year. So you multiply it out and divide by 12 to get your monthly. The rent comes out to $12.66. Heating and cooling, I used the Columbia Gas calculator and an estimate of 40 BTUs per square foot for Pennsylvania, which is the utility recommendation. That comes out to $272 to heat 1,900 square feet. And if you think about it, that's about right, because your house is probably somewhere around 1,900, 2,000 square feet. And if you notice, your gas and electric bill are about $270 to $300 a month. Depending on, well, you got an older house, but the newer house. So that's where, it's about right, is what I'm saying. The appliances, we calculated at 5.361 per kilowatt hour using the manufacturer's specs on all of the equipment. So the 4 fridges and 2 freezers and the walk-in cooler come out to $219. I admit that the $50 estimate for the hot water, fryer, oven, and dishwasher are kind of just a guesstimate. Equipment life expectancy per web restaurant is a 16-year average life expectancy. Now, some of them already have some age on them, but this is to allow New Freedom Borough to replace equipment. So the equipment that would be being replaced would be about $30,000. 16-year life expectancy monthly would be about $156, and figuring Tasteful Occasions at 60%, that would be about $94 a month to put into the kitty to replace the equipment when it expires. And that comes out to $1,901. So the purpose of this exercise was to show that $1,900 is a good number. There is a couple of things that probably aren't in here, like for instance, we have to clean the range hood, I think, what, every 6 months?
Why do we have to do that?
Well, I mean, it's our building, so just for insurance and purposes, I think we want to maintain responsibility for cleaning the range hood.
Why don't we maintain responsibility but pass on the cost to them? Since
I
they
thought
were
they
using it.
did maintenance in here.
I'm sorry?
They were responsible for maintenance.
We took away a number of things. Andy's lease does not have in the discounted usages of the community center. It doesn't have in them maintaining or doing anything with the community center. They are strictly a tenant. They're no longer an employee.
But it says they must keep it in good working order and repair.
Right, they have maintenance contracts on all of the equipment in there.
So if they're using it, why aren't they getting it, all of the items inspected and maintained on the schedule that it's supposed to be, and then turning in to the office proof that that was done?
Well, like I said, they have a maintenance contract, which whenever something breaks, they have it fixed.
No, but we're talking about like the vent hood, we're paying to have that cleaned. That's gotta be fair.
That's a fire
Expensive.
hazard. I mean, I don't think you want to rely on a tenant who is sharing, basically sharing a kitchen to take care of that. But, I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean,
Who are
if
they
you wanna-
sharing it? Like,
Well, hopefully, it'll be shared by more than just Tasteful Occasions over the course of the year. I mean,
What's it
I mean,
cost
like
today to have
80%
that
of the
cleaned?
uses then.
I don't know.
Do you know,
I just wanted
Andrew,
to
do you know
point
what it
out
costs to
that
have that hood cleaned and,
I don't off the top of my head.
I
would
mean, is
say-
it $1,000? 2,000? Is it 500?
I
Rough
don't
idea?
know.
No? Okay. I'm sorry.
I mean, landlords will typically negotiate what their maintenance responsibilities are for what, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just
like
said
I said,
it's
they have
open
maintenance
discussion.
contracts on all the equipment.
Like the
They
grease trap
do, and
was
it's,
214.
Sorry?
The grease trap was 214.
Well, that was,
No, that was in
was
the
that
floor.
for August? Yeah, there's multiple costs for that because it failed.
that was a mess.
I understand what you're saying, like the cleaning of that was $214.
Mhm. And that a for-profit business that's using that 24 hours a day, availability to them, should be exorbitant in all these costs.
But you're charging them as a for-profit business. As an example, the senior center is paying $4 per square foot. The police department pays a little under $4 per square foot. They're paying $8 per square foot.
I looked and was not able to find $4 per square foot. Where did you find $4 per square foot?
I could send you the site. It's on my phone.
Yeah, it all depends on whether, if it's a triple net versus, you are still
Exactly.
subsidizing some of this, so it's not really a true triple net. It's less than
No,
triple net
right.
because you guys are taking care of some of the
But it's shared,
expense.
it can be
But-
shared.
You can
So
do a
it's really
cam.
ki- It's really kind of hard to
But
do a cam whenever you're allowing.
What's a
the
single
fire
building?
department,
Yeah, I understand that. So that's the question. That's up for Borough Council to decide whether they
Right.
want.
But going just on a triple net, that's just for insurance and maintenance and so forth. You should still have the cost to lease, that triple net, that $4.
Yeah, there's still a pure rental component to that document, to that number, yes. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's pretty cheap, 1,200 for a
Yeah,
institutional kitchen a month.
Well, but it's, where did you get 1,200?
You have it down here, rent 1,267.
right there.
But they're paying 1,901. That's the
Well,
rent
that's
which
with-
the,
But for the square
Everything else.
footage of, you're saying is, that's another confusion, the square footage, you're saying is 1,900, those 4 rooms add up to 1,900?
right,
What about the kitchen?
that is the kitchen.
But the kitchen
But
is
there are
room
four other
104.
rooms, is what she's saying.
Where's the kitchen? The room 105 and 106 is at the end of the hall, right before the stairs, and rooms 204 and 205 are upstairs. Where is the kitchen accounted for in that 1,900 square feet?
I have to pull my, I can go back and get my drawing, but I'm pretty sure.
The kitchen
I
has
don't
the,
think those numbers are right.
well, the
It's only
kitchen,
1,790 square feet if you add
yeah.
Those, and then the kitchen is in addition to
The
that.
kitchen is 600 to 670 square feet alone.
I think that's supposed to be,
On
that's
these.
106, which is at 660.
Yeah, I thought the kitchen
Well,
was
no,
a
106
660.
is at the end of the hall, that's one of their 2 storage areas that they get downstairs.
Not for 660 square feet. No, that, it might just be that that number needs changed, and that might have been my error.
Honestly, some of us, I think, get confused.
But they
with
have 2
room.
down there, right?
No, they have the kitchen, and then they have the back room.
Which is right across the hall.
On the same wall as them or across the
Same
wall?
wall.
The same wall that has the padlock on it?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to have any padlocks on anything in the old lease and this new
To go
one?
through the other side, because they don't want people, they want people going through.
No, it's 1900, Mom.
But in the lease, it says they're not able to put padlocks on any doors. It has to be a borough key to open that door that they were provided with.
There's
Are
a
you
lot of
looking
things
at,
in that lease that I think.
But it's in here too.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
is.
not
There's a
being
lot of
enforced.
changes that they're going to be forced to make because we need control of our areas back
Absolutely.
through.
Yeah.
So, and I think my only concern here is we know that there are changes that are needed. This was a step in the right direction, I feel.
Sure.
With the attempt to keep them as a tenant because we need somebody paying the bills in there. I mean, the general fund already supplements the community center fund quite often to pay bills. So council, I think, just needs to balance that with, yes, you have to make sure you're covering costs and make money, but you also want to make sure you're keeping tenants in there as well.
True, but to price out, to go rent a professional kitchen is like 95, average $95+ an hour.
No, it's
This-
35. I looked it up,
Well,
it's $45 an hour.
It can be as little as 35 to 30.
45 is.
Averages for our immediate area, 30, I agree. But we have to be, fiduciary responsible to the citizens of New Freedom. And I don't know that, it's definitely going in the right direction, but if it was way not good before, to make it less way not good and keep going forward, I think there's a lot more things that we need to see here.
I think there's one thing that you have to consider that kind of factors into all this. Normally, if you're renting a piece of property, you increase the rent 5 to 10% a year. This is like a huge hit. I mean, you wouldn't normally do this, but again, the lease previous was a sweetheart deal, right?
I
So-
understand, well, this kind of is too, but I know that,
I wouldn't
this-
say that. What are you saying is
Well-
a sweetheart deal?
Well, I think, looking at this, at the 1900, I don't even know that it's accurately that it is 1900.
It is if you add them up.
Well,
So nowhere
She said
said
the kitchen doesn't.
But the
it is
kitchen,
included. It's 600.
That's all, 660 square feet?
but the
Yeah.
kitchen is room 104. The end of the hall from the kitchen is 105 and 106.
Which
This-
end of the hall?
On the, where
The end
the,
together, I guess we'll wait.
where
Yeah, I
it
think
is.
some of us are confused because of the room numbers. We're used to hearing a name, the Hitty Room, the
Yeah.
Lions Room. I don't know where room 105 and 106 is to really compare it, you
All
know?
right, so.
And like, one real quick, it says, the kitchen located on the basement floor. Isn't this like the first floor?
It's the first
Can
floor.
we fix
There's no
that part?
basement.
Yeah.
There's like,
First floor.
that gets confusing.
Because there is a basement.
Sure, if there is, but what we're talking about is the, you know, the first level, and then you go upstairs to the second level. Like that could be a little bit of the confusion, but the premises here by lease shall be the kitchen located on the basement floor of the center and the second floor office room. The second floor office room, is that room 204?
Yes.
It is.
Then what's 205?
It's the closet.
In back of the
Closet.
bathroom?
No, it's straight ahead.
It's right next door to 204.
Correct. And
When were these measurements taken and determined that these are the measurements of this room?
we just did these,
So it's recently?
correct. I would, within the last couple of months, as we started going into this process, we want accurate representation of what the room
And
is.
the kitchen is 106.
The kitchen's labeled 106.
That's 660.
105 is the room to the back.
That's the cooler room.
Yep.
Okay, that's where they put in the walk-in.
Right.
Should make a motion.
106.
Okay. And senior center is no longer using
The kitchen is down
105.
there, and it's 104.
Yeah. Well, if, again,
I'm just saying that he was down there measuring and writing rooms, and see there's 105 with a padlock on
See,
it,
that's
next to the stairs.
the cool.
right, because you can't go to the back of the cooler.
Yeah. They don't want anybody going in that room.
Well, then shouldn't it be a borough lock something?
You
Because I
can't
mean,
really
in
do-
here
because
it
that's
says
just the
don't
back of the wall.
put padlocks.
Right, you can't.
'Cause you're not gonna
If
get
you
it.
open the door, you couldn't get into the room.
Yeah. I remember when that was put in. And the senior center does no longer use that room at all.
That's
For
correct.
prep, okay. Now, I do have a question when it comes to the fridge and freezer, which I guess we're talking about the walk-in. They had a contract that they were going to pay X amount per month. Was that $120 a month toward electricity for the walk-in?
Yeah, and that's in the new lease.
Well, it's 119 fridge and freezer. If you take that out, they're only paying $100 for the other, all the other utilities for the fridges. You have, what, 3 refrigerators in there and other electrical?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to, just with the senior center as well, I tried to eliminate all these other sub-agreements that were done over the years and keep it one
Yeah.
figure in the base rent per month.
Yeah.
That includes utilities and everything else that's.
The walk-in cooler calculates out at 119.30. The vertical coolers, there's 4 of them, and they're $15 a month, and that's $60. There's 2 vertical freezers that are $20 a month, and that's another $40.
So that's $100, okay, that's 219.
It's 219, right.
Okay, I thought it would be more than that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But in electric bills that range in $1,000 or more, when you say they have vertical coolers and they're $15 a month, and there's 4 of them and you're charging them $60, that's equivalent to you're saying that they're running 3 hours a month? If you take the 15 that you're charging for the 4 coolers, and you divide that into the kilowatt cost of the 5.31, it's 2.79 hours. So that's what you're saying, each of those 4 coolers are only running 3 hours a month?
It should be 5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah, it's 5 cents per kilowatt hour, 5.361.
5.361.
Cents.
Yeah, cents per kilowatt.
But you're saying that their electric use out of the approximately $1,000 a month is only $269?
With the rest that's in that building, it's probably pretty close.
But they
You
also
gotta keep in
have,
mind, they also have heating of 272. So between the two, if you're looking at utilities, you've got 272 and 219. So
But they
that's
have-
491.
I don't see like electric here, you know, they run a microwave. coffee maker, making the coffee, the mixers. There's a lot of other things that I think that are being used electric-wise that aren't really accounted for in here. And has it ever been looked into splitting off the meter for that kitchen?
Yeah, well, just like any old building, if you tried to split off the meter.
That'd cost a fortune.
It'd cost you a fortune to try to figure out what lines are going on, what breakers.
So what they do have is, there are kind of like a extension kind of, you plug in the wall and then you plug in your electric appliance into that and it tells you how much you're actually using. How come we don't look at that for, 90 days or something to see actually what input is coming out of that kitchen?
Well, first off, we don't have 90 days right now. We have to do a lease before December 22nd, and I guess we have to give them some amount of notice.
You
So
can extend it if you want.
You could extend it, but yeah, I don't.
But I just think that there's, especially with,
You're losing a lot of money.
with the amount, all of our electricity and utilities are going up right now, to lock us into something for 2 years, not knowing where that's gonna be going.
Oh, you could put in an escalation clause. You could
It's
say
only-
that,
it's only
you could
1
say.
year.
I was gonna
That's
say.
a 1 year.
I thought it was 2 years.
No, it's 1 year.
Oh, no.
January.
It is 2 years.
It is 2 years, I read it, yeah.
It's a 2024, yeah, you're right.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it,
so, you're locking yourself
22.
December of 24.
23, 24
Yeah,
is,
that's right.
yeah.
our electric's locked in, we lock in 5 years at a time, but other utilities,
How about gas?
gas,
Yeah.
no.
Gas.
I don't know how gas isn't even in here, is it?
Yeah.
And I'm going off of the one, was the heating and cooling, $2.10 to heat a square foot?
I'm sorry, Sam.
That's what, from what you sent me this weekend? You have heating and cooling, $2.10 a square foot. The cost to heat.
I'd have to do anything.
It says this heating and cooling, $2.10 a square foot. It said it was $1,200 to heat, but he only put the kitchen at 600 square feet and not the rest of the 1,900.
No, it's 14.3 cents a square foot to heat and cool. Which I think the average was,
You have $2.10 here.
I may have changed it, I apologize.
Okay, well, this is the information I'm going off of, because, I asked to be in all of this, so I wouldn't have all these questions, but I get the end result, so that's why.
It's not the end result, it's a draft.
It's a draft.
Well, I know, but the end, not knowing how you got there, that's why I had to ask.
And that's why
this
we're
weekend.
discussing it, Eric.
Well, I know, but you don't want to take a long time, so that's why if I was in on this, I wouldn't have all these questions, I'd know how we arrived at this.
Again, my attempt with this was to
Sure.
put us in the path of right direction. I think it does that, it can, definitely, some additional tweaks that can be made. Again, my only concern is a drastic increase and then possibly
What
Do
completely
you
losing
think
that.
we're
And I don't
gonna
want to
leave
lose
for
that.
$2,000
That's not my-
a month and go someplace and pay $7,000?
No,
$7,000,
don't get me wrong, it's still a
Yeah,
deal,
it's-
I think, making that huge jump, I think it's going to be a little bit more harder to swallow
But
than,
has the borough ever looked into renting on an hourly rate this kitchen? You're just staying on this one tenant and the lucrative
we do,
opportunities.
we do.
Yeah, we do. Rent it.
If someone contacts me,
rent.
work that out with
Um,
Tasteful Occasions, if someone wants to
know.
have an event, they can add in the use of the kitchen and we work that out with them, so.
One thing I liked about this is that we do force them, if we rent it out and somebody wants the kitchen, they go upstairs and use the kitchen upstairs, tasteful occasions. So we're not losing out when somebody wants to rent the kitchen, which has happened, and somebody's sitting there with a griddle on a stool trying to make hamburgers and hot dogs.
But at 1,900 square feet, that's what it is, because one of these are wrong and it's really the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, we'll check the numbers, but those measurements, I'm pretty confident.
So do they only have one space downstairs then? The kitchen and that one with a padlock? They don't have any other space downstairs, not across the hall where the bathrooms are, nowhere?
My goal, again, was to get rid of that and clean it up so that we take back ownership of our storage areas, because, so we don't have tables and chairs sitting in the auditorium. And
Hallelujah.
yeah, I mean, honestly, that's.
Somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah, but you talk, you don't want to see such a big jump, but for them, for this business, I mean, the perks that they have a commercial kitchen, they have a banquet hall attached to it right there. They have parking for
They
their
don't
trucks.
get to use the banquet hall unless they rent it.
So they can.
They rent it from
But
us.
they have parking for their trucks, they have parking for their employees, they have generator. I mean, there's a lot of perks that, you know, we took some away, yes, but there still are a lot that make this lucrative. And at basically 1,900 square feet, and you're charging them 1,900 a month, isn't that $1
It
a
is.
square foot?
It is, yeah, that's what I use.
That's not, yeah, it's what you use, but it's not how you calculate commercial space. They're really paying $8 per square foot per year, which is the way you calculate commercial space, which is,
But in something like
Which is
that,
in the
is
average.
completely empty. They're getting all of this provided for them that the citizens of New Freedom purchased for this kitchen and put in there. So you might be going on to $8, but then there is the added benefit of all the storage space they get, the coolers, everything else that kind of goes into this.
but that was all added in. They have a cost in here for the kilowatt hours being used, and then they also have an equipment depreciation.
But I'm concerned if somebody goes off and they leave the heat on all night and it's, 24 degrees out, who pays for that? They don't pay for that because they're being charged a flat rate. The citizens of New Freedom suck that up. When things like that.
Generally,
They can't adjust the heat, correct?
Generally, triple net, though, that's how they do it. They'll do a flat rate. They have to figure out a percentage because they don't monitor it on that. I mean, that's just the way commercial works, because it's too hard to
I'm
monitor.
just concerned it's not being figured out properly. We're just kind of saying, well, I think it's this, and, we'll do that. We just don't want to give it too much of a sticker shock. I think, it's going in the right
2011,
direction.
call it
I take umbrage at that. That's not true. We figured out what the utilities would be based on the equipment that they were running. We used a square footage cost to cover the rental. We added back in the heat. There are places in New Freedom that you could rent. I mean, we have one guy that's renting 4,600 square feet for $1,100 a month. So 4,600.
How many square feet is the police department?
The police department is
60% of this building, I believe.
6,000.
Can't be 6.
85.
6,000 square?
Oh, okay, yeah, the whole building.
This whole building was 94, 9,300.
And we're only 3,000 and they're 6,000?
Well, that includes the carport, includes all that. It includes half of the lobby, half of this room. That's how it was done.
Oh, picky.
I mean, you can separate all that out and then say, I think specific for their use, I think is 3,900 square feet plus the carport. So then you do half of this, half of that.
And the cost that they have this equipment to
I'm
use.
sorry, so he's renting at $2.87.
If
Face
this was,
locations
if
is-
this was your building and this is what you wanted to rent out of, I'd say do it all day long. That is your prerogative. But we need to make it equitable for the citizens of New Freedom that we've been sent here to serve, and I just don't know that this hasn't covered all of the things.
You've taken their rent of $1,900 represents their rent going up by almost 5 times.
But
We have made this lease something that they can probably live with. I mean, you can imagine, I mean, it's going from, you know, I mean, make a recommendation.
My recommendation would be to have a professional realtor, broker come in, look at the facility, and you'd be able to give an actual fair amount. I don't want to rake them, that's not why I'm here. I don't want that, and I don't want to be perceived that way. But I don't know, do you have something? Okay. I don't want this to be something of, well, we think, and I used to do this, and I think, you know, we consult out a lot for things, and why we wouldn't consult out to make sure that, you know, we're being as responsible as we can for this, for the citizens of New Freedom. I'm kind of perplexed on that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's commercial realtors don't generally give their opinion unless you have a listing agreement with them, and then they take a
Or a
3%
consultant,
commission.
there has to be some type of a consultant to come to see what the fair market
Would
I
that-
mean,
needs would be.
you get an
with
appraiser
this.
that could give you that, and then, you know.
But
That's
that's,
what I
but
asked.
would that only be the property itself, it wouldn't be everything else included with that, is that correct?
It's everything that, in the ball of wax that's being presented to tasteful occasions. This is, you know, you're using all the equipment that the New Freedom has purchased and you're using, and what happens? What happens if the stove, or say that the kitchen burns down? In here, does this say that they only have to carry insurance to replace their items and what they carried in, and then it would be our insurance that would have to?
Yeah, it's normally how it's done.
Well, there are no
They
insurance
can't-
requirements
they
in
can't.
there for that.
I mean, I was gonna mention that,
There
a general
are.
liability coverage and.
There are,
workers'
but it
comp.
just kind of leaves it open to where, why aren't we telling them, look, you have to carry this X amount of insurance to cover these replacement costs?
Because that's, you don't,
Yeah, generally.
you don't normally insure something you don't own. The
Or
landlord,
the citizens do.
yeah, that's why we insure it.
Right. The landlord insures the building and the structure. The tenants have
And
to
any,
insure.
and any property that we own
That's
inside
right.
of it.
That is the general mix on commercial, even with triple net. That the owner will have to insure, have to carry the property insurance. Tenant will have to carry property, the tenant's insurance. And that's why you have general liability coverage from the tenant in case they do burn something. So they have to cover that.
And
It's not a
are
problem.
they, is that part of their fee in here? Did you figure that in, what the cost for us to carry insurance because they're in there?
That's a good
We have insurance on the building. We have to have insurance on the building,
But
whether
you
they're
have a
there or not.
full-time caterer in there working with kitchen equipment and the risk of fire and so
If
forth.
you took
Why
that
are we
insurance policy,
subsidizing
if you took
them
that
being in
insurance
there?
policy, 1,900 square feet versus the balance of the building, what would you come up with for insurance? And would it be unconventional to charge them for their percentage?
You guys are talking about a kind of a CAM cost. It would be taxes, insurance, and building maintenance. Those are 3 components you typically have. Take the total number, you divide it by square footage, and the tenant pays their CAM towards that. I mean, that's really what you're talking about, is CAM. And it's up to the borough whether or not they want to do that or not. I mean, I don't know what your insurance is, or what the rider is down in there for that.
Well, does our insurance, what does our insurance think? Does it think it's an occasional use? Do they know that the caterer is allowed to be in there 24/7? Do they know that's the usage of this kitchen, our insurance?
They realize it's a commercial kitchen, so my understanding of that is it's priced as a commercial kitchen, whether there's somebody in there or not.
But if something happens and we go to our insurance company and say, we need to, you know, be made whole for this, and then they're like, whoa, what do you mean? You know, you said it was a commercial kitchen, but we didn't know you had a caterer in there that could be there 24/7. We, you know, our insurance company does not know that it's not an occasional use or so forth, that there is a actual, you know, 365 days a year, somebody in there for a profit using it.
I don't know the answer to that, but it's classified as a commercial kitchen in a community center that's known to be a leased space. I don't think that would be an issue, but I will check.
Your insurance agent typically checks that when it's a commercial policy. They come out and find out what the use is and how often it is. And price it accordingly, because they don't want to have the risk either.
And I noticed that there are 8 propane tanks stored right outside the building
I
in the
wanted to
parking lot.
mention that. That's been brought up by the fire company that they need to go.
That would be hazardous. I would like us to table this, and you look at fixing what these rooms are, getting something in about the insurance and something in about the utilities. You know, if they raise up so much, 10%, whatever it is, that there's a clause in there that we get somebody that's a professional in this field to look at what is the lease, proper lease for a commercial industrialized kitchen with all the space and amenities that this provides for this space.
Is there something in their current lease that we have to give them a new lease within so many days prior to expiration of this one in 2022? I didn't look. I mean, sometimes you have to give 30
Usually,
days, 60
I
days
think
notice.
there's
you know.
notice of termination. This is not notice of termination.
Okay, so there's nothing that
I'm
says
sure
we
you
have to
gotta
give
do, you gotta
them.
do 60 days. I mean, wouldn't imagine
And
No, that's negotiated, the term.
if you just
We're
kind of,
getting close, October.
the notice is
60
already
days.
coming, so, you know.
and if you just kind of look at the 1,900, divide that into 30 days of the month, that equates out to approximately $63 a day that they're paying to be in there. When we're looking at $35 per hour to $95 per hour for a commercial kitchen. And that's why I say that somebody, a professional broker that deals with commercial kitchens needs to come in to assess the situation, along with the other things already noted. To look at and amend, add in. That's one more thing I see here. Table and chair usage. I didn't see anything in here about that. Are they able to
They're not allowed.
continue?
I don't think they were ever allowed. Well, that wasn't in the old.
They
ones.
did it.
We have
I
people
know.
that,
Yeah, they did
I saw it.
tastings and put tables out there and, you know, decorated them for.
Yeah, no.
Now I thought they have a room upstairs for that.
They do.
They have a
Room,
tasting
right?
room. Yeah, they shouldn't need to be using
in
our
the old
tables.
Hope room, I believe that's the room up there, is the tasting room. Is that considered is that what you call the office? You're calling the office space?
When you go up the steps to the left.
To-
Yeah. it's the
That's
whole
their
room.
office, but I
That's
thought
their
the
office.
tasting room was to the right.
That's not.
Room 204,
That's not, no.
the Hope. That's not the office that you're calling the office?
Oh, that one's way in the back.
This is upstairs.
Two
Yeah,
and four is
yeah.
this entire area. 205 is that.
Yeah, that's what I just said, 204. That's where you're considering the office and the tasting room.
Right.
Okay.
The other one's just a closet.
Yeah, just,
And this is all
Storage.
one, that wall
Sure.
that's open.
Sure,
There's
yeah.
doors there.
yeah. But back to tables and chairs, those are going to be moved into where they're currently, the voting machines go in and they're stored?
Off the auditorium.
All of those are going to fit in that room?
I don't think we're gonna get all we'll be able to get all the tables in.
Okay.
we're gonna look at options for the chairs. I don't think we're gonna get all the chairs in, but at least it would be the majority of things in that room, in storage, where it needs to be, and we'll regain our access to the facilities in there that we need to maintain.
Well, that was.
Weren't we looking at
another
the
thing.
kind of fencing off an area back in the corner to put those chairs and not just anybody can get in there?
Well, that was the hope of putting it in for.
Oh, I thought I talked about.
Okay, so
separating.
action items we have, we want to add, well, we're going to leave out the table and chairs, but the escalation clause for the utilities, we want to see if we can find a consultant to give us some kind of an estimate on what the kitchens were.
How are we gonna work out an escalation clause for utilities when we're not breaking out the utilities specifically?
You would take the square footage?
I think you could take, I think you could say that, right now, gas and electric is whatever, like right now, we figured it at 5.31 whatever, and you could say if gas goes up or electric goes up by more than this much per kilowatt hour, that we can escalate it.
This isn't taxable building, is it? You don't pay real estate taxes on this? So as we approach fair market value, it also can become taxable. So there should probably some provision in there that provides for their, they pay their taxes associated with their square footage.
Yeah, if we start.
The closer you get to fair market value, the tax assessment office starts looking at that as taxable.
Really?
Yes. I have school districts that rent out farm fields and different portions, and they're paying taxes on it as agricultural ground or whatever.
Well, I don't look to going up to 10,000, but if you look at commercial kitchen with these amenities, I mean, for.
All I'm saying is we should put something in there that
Yeah.
says if it's taxed, that they'll have to cover the taxes.
They
That's all I'm
will,
saying.
I was gonna say, I don't think we're coming anywhere close, but I think this could be more fair and equitable for the citizens of the Freedom. So I'm not seeing it in the red every month on the treasurer's report.
I'm sorry, what's their base rate right now?
Yeah.
No, not.
It's an
not-
increase of $1,500.
I'm sorry, what?
An increase of $1,500 versus what they're paying now.
So they're paying more than 500 a month, aren't they?
390.
But that's after we deduct for
reduction.
their,
Right.
I'm pre-deduction.
790.
790, that's what I wanted. So they're due 790 now,
It's a $400 credit.
okay. Right.
So another problem was everybody having keys and going into every room because everybody has a master key and they could just get in everywhere.
Well, there are different keys for
What is
different
happening?
locations.
That's going away, it's going to be rekeyed, and they'll only be able to go into their areas.
So is tasteful occasions only gonna be able to open doors, 4 doors, and the front door to get in?
And they have an office upstairs.
Well, yeah, that's part of the 4. So that, and then senior center, they will have keys to open the doors that are gonna come up on therapies. Is that right? And this room that's gonna hold our tables and our chairs, is anybody gonna be able to get in that room?
Shouldn't be, no. It should
There's
not.
lots on it
Between
now.
between our
Yeah,
lease.
that's locked in.
Correct, they should have no reason to get in there.
Well, they shouldn't,
Right.
not to say that,
Yeah.
you know, that, you know, and so,
You get a
it's
file,
good to hear that's
you
being
get a file.
rekeyed.
That would be the
Is
easiest.
it plumbing or?
We'd have to, I mean,
That's
the
a key.
cost for that would just be, the fobs would be astronomical.
Because you could turn the fobs off and on and off according to who they are.
That's the easy, that's the absolute
When you say
easiest.
it's, well, what do you mean? Are you talking 10,000 or are you talking 50,000? What do you, just ballpark? I mean, do you
I don't,
know
I,
that?
my
Have you looked
guess,
into that?
yeah, my guess would be, going through this at Spring Grove in their community center, they had the same issue with keys. Everybody in the borough had keys, they went to fobs. I think the cost for that was $20,000.
You know, it might be hard to swallow in the front end, but the long term of the community center over time with people coming and going and just being able to flip on and off the code to get in somewhere
It makes it a lot easier.
would make a lot of sense.
Put touch codes too.
Yeah.
That would work.
Yeah,
Hair
they're,
fall.
they're not that
Do you know what
expensive.
you need to do, or do you have any questions about what you need to do?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a couple things that need cleaned up in here. Talked about an escalator clause, talked about getting somebody in, to.
A
to kind of,
professional.
Yeah,
Outside, away from the borough, nobody that's been a council member or
Yeah,
whatever,
we know
just
what a professional is there.
outside.
Do you need anything
what,
else?
Are you gonna authorize him to pay anyone to do that? I honestly, I've tried to get that for free, and you can't get it for free, because they either want the listing or they want a fee to do the appraisal.
Throw out a number with a fee, just.
I mean, is it possible to get somebody else outside that doesn't have any connection to New Freedom but has commercial space that rents and get, okay.
No, professional broker that does this. This is their job. This is their job to look at utilities. It's their job to look at their trash consumption, you know, all
How
the
much do you want to
rules.
authorize to pay the person for a fee?
I have no idea, because every time I'm on, they just said they wanted the listing, and the owner either goes, well, I'm not giving them 3% or 5%.
Right.
Or, so I don't even know. I mean,
Well, my husband was making 10 to 12%
Right.
commercial real estate.
Yeah.
There's an area where I'm
And
going
going
to
to
do
work
it
and
enough.
stuff.
But she said no one did it on council.
Nobody
hard,
within
yeah,
a
it's hard
professional.
I mean, someone knows anyone,
Somebody that really knows.
I mean, if you, $1,000, I mean, you'd probably get someone to do it.
I make a motion to have $1,000 to research what the equitable cost of the rental of the community center is to the tasteful occasions with the kitchen and other
The
rooms.
motion
Not to
authorize
exceed.
not to exceed $1,000 for professional services to come up with a lease value.
quickly.
A second?
I've got a question. Is someone gonna talk to Tasteful Occasions and tell them this is coming down the road? To be fair to them?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of get the consensus
If
before.
they
we
get an
move.
inkling of where it's going, so they have an option, to see, do we wanna look at someplace else, or do we wanna stay here? Do we have to change what we charge to stay here, or are we gonna change what we charge so we can move someplace else, because this, we're getting
Well,
sticker shock?
I don't know where they would move
For 2,000 a month.
for this.
I don't
amount
know
of money.
either.
Less than one event.
There's no place that.
So in other words,
It just,
in other
where we are,
words,
it
you
jumps
got it
up.
by the throat, so you can just keep squeezing, you know, is that what you're saying?
Again, no, that's not what I said, but the citizens
like
of
it.
New Freedom shouldn't be reaching into their pockets to subsidize a for-profit business
Right.
leasing out of the
Right.
community center. And I think
You just
everybody
had one
up
that's
here who has been voted in over the last couple of years knows the heartache from the citizens over the situation. And I would say this is better, this is a great, in the right direction. How do we know what we're doing is right? You need a professional in there to see, and that's what I'm asking for. I'm not saying,
I'm just saying, you should, since they've been there for a while, yeah, I think you owe it to them to let them know that this is coming down the pipe, that this is the direction you're gonna go, so they can plan for it.
Let them know.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some
Yeah, I know.
direction from
Well,
council.
I know.
Do you, and Erica, do you have an idea of what you think it should be
no, I know what
in your head?
I know when I researched what it is online, and it's nowhere close, and do I expect it to be there? I'm not expecting it to go where
I
it
just
says
thought
that
maybe
it
you had
can.
something in your head that
No,
would.
no.
I mean, the
But-
things that I would like to point out is, you're not in Baltimore, you're in New Freedom.
I know. yeah.
We didn't have a lease
Well,
for
we
the
kinda
kitchen.
are.
We didn't have a lease for the kitchen for a long time. This is the best lease that we've had, or at least the best tenant. Now, given that the rent was that low, you would expect that. Also, you have to realize that if you go out the door, there's properties to rent around here that you could get for $2 a square foot per year. You know, we're at $8 per, huh?
That's not accurate.
It is absolutely accurate. I have people that I've checked with on what they're paying, unless they lied to me in
Well,
math.
your tri-rate, yes, but that's.
Sorry?
what is it called, the tri-rate? That is a portion of, with the triple N, it's like they have it on here. There's contact for the lease rate, the additional rent, this is what I believe you keep talking about. Because yes, it's 4.45 a square foot for a year, that's the triple net. That's what you keep referring to, but there is a lease rate. There's also a lease rate to have that building.
I'm telling you that I could introduce you to people that are paying for a 4,600 square foot piece of property, they're paying $1,100 a month.
If that's how somebody personally wants to rent it to them, great. And like I said, this was your building, great, but this is the people's building.
Yeah, we've heard about the People's Building now about 400 times in the.
And everybody should be here.
And you have to realize too that it's better to make some amount of money than to make nothing. And if they walk away, then we don't have anything coming in.
I do not see
And
them
that would be great if you want to dedicate your life full-time to try to find hourly renters for a kitchen, but I don't think you're gonna do that.
There would be people beating down the door for the amount.
No, that's not true.
Oh, absolutely.
There aren't people beating down the door now.
You're not putting it out to anybody.
Okay. You have everything you need to do.
You can make it a second,
We haven't had a second.
Yeah, I'll second
Thank you.
You have a second.
Just to.
it. I just want to vote on it.
How can we not know what we don't know? I mean,
I understand.
you know?
Can I just make one other suggestion to consider? If you went with $1,900 for a year and took the time to do the actual kind of research that you're suggesting, and then give the folks that are in there the time to decide based on what we come up with as a fair market rental or close to.
I was gonna ask that, we don't have to go 2 years, we can give them.
Right, I
1
think you have
year
some other
leeway.
options in between, so maybe it gives the borough the time to do some of this and get a reasonable number that everyone's comfortable with, can wrap their head around, but you're going closer to where we should be.
I could go with that. If they come back and say, wow, it should be this, I could say, okay, understandable, we're not gonna go there, we'll go here for 1 year. We'll go here 1 year, and then we can revisit it, because we know we're still not on the bullseye yet, and then we'll eventually get there.
How about
I
somebody
can
make a
totally
motion, we
agree
do
with that.
$2,200 for the first year while we investigate.
I suppose they can we just table it until we get,
Yeah,
No,
but
we're
we gotta
running out
give
of
them, we
time.
gotta give them their lease. I mean, you can't,
we really have to do that.
this is September, we've gotta give it to them in October to give them
Yeah.
60 days.
Yeah, it's
We
bad,
need to
it's bad.
see about
Because
what it
they got
is. And it doesn't
questions.
mean that we have to go there. It doesn't mean we have to charge.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second for $1,000 to hire an expert of some sort to give us an idea where we should be. Is there any other discussion on that motion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So what, don't we already have a motion on the lease itself?
We do.
So what do we do with that? Are we tabling that?
No, we didn't.
Sorry?
We did not get a motion.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, let's do it that way too then. I would entertain a motion to put forth the lease at $1,900 a month for 1 year instead of 2, with the changes to, actually, we don't need an escalation for utilities if it's a 1-year lease.
how can we do that if we're looking at a consult?
We still need the consult. I think if we're gonna do a 1-year lease, we would still have an expert come in.
But,
That's what Kim just suggested, I
well,
thought.
I know, but how do you even know that the 1,900 is adequate until you get the consultant to know to move forward with this or not?
This would be for the second year, what you're talking about.
I understand. But no, for now, say they came back next month, well, you know, it's 8,500 a month. Do I expect it to go to 8,500? No, I do not. But then we could say, okay, well, that's pretty far off from the 19, so maybe it should be $2,200, for 1 year, and then revisit it in another year. That's what I believed this was being tabled, and until
We can do that to 2,200, they can counter, right?
until the other things are added in.
We're gonna table both leases until we get someone in, give us,
Why do we need to table the other?
Same situation.
it's the same situation. I mean, there you're giving somebody a lower reduced rate because they're a nonprofit. So-
Yeah, if you're gonna do it for one, you gotta do it for all.
Well, you can have the consultant
Pick and
look at
choose.
both, right?
Well, I don't
They're
think
two
you have to
separate
give it
areas.
to a for-profit.
And they've got their budgeting cycle coming up, they need to know at the community center, or senior center, don't you think?
Okay. Yeah, you can, but I guess.
I mean, it's
So you're
kind
gonna,
of a different
so let me ask you,
scenario.
so you're gonna accept this, everything the borough council president did in justification of that rate, but then you say, not for you guys.
They'll know in October.
No, they're a different animal. They're apples and oranges, aren't they? I look at it that way. A commercial kitchen versus just renting rooms from the borough.
That's up to
two
you,
different
that's up to you
things.
guys. That's up to you.
I don't know what the consensus is of the council.
It should be tabled, as you said, to get accurate, adequate information.
But the consultant's gonna look at both leases, is that correct?
Well, I think the consultant's just gonna tell you what a fair market rental is for that building, isn't?
I thought it was just a kitchen.
I feel like we're back to square one right now.
Sorry?
I feel like we're back to
Yeah.
square one already.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I want to go back to agreeing to this lease for tasteful occasion.
It would be looking at the present lease and asking the consultant, are these adequate? And if not, what is the rate for that building?
For both organizations, Toast
They can look at both,
and-
sure.
I wouldn't do that.
I think they're different animals.
Hey, how about the police? I mean, sure, the police rent would double if you had a consultant come in and say, what can I rent 6,000 some square feet for?
Basically, state road.
You know? What?
Well, we voted
Forward to table it and to.
No, it hasn't been voted on, I just said we should table it. No one's voted on anything other than the only thing that's been voted on is allow $1,000 for a consultant.
We're barely into the second page. Can we table these and continue on?
Continue on what?
Do I have any other motions on the leases?
Too late to make one?
No.
Make a motion that we approve the lease for the $1,900 a month for tasteful occasions.
Would you go for just 1 year?
For what?
I would say 1 year, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the majority of the council that just said that they wanted a consultant to see.
Okay.
That's all they said, they
Yeah,
didn't
they didn't say when.
Yeah.
We're saying that, I still agree.
I
The
agree.
consultant's a good idea.
Yes. I don't
For
disagree.
this lease.
Not for this lease,
Not-
but for the lease for next
the
year.
But what is before us is the current lease. That's why
I
the consultant.
I agree with Dennis's point that they need notice for their cost structure for clients that they already either have booked or will be booking in the future.
Are you telling
Yes.
me that they've been told that their rent's gonna be 1,900? And sit back, it's okay? I don't understand that. What do you mean their structure? They shouldn't know anything.
All right,
They shouldn't
I'm
know
calling for
any
a-
amount.
We have a motion and a second. I'd like to have a vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
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 Now discussion. Can I see a show of hands, please, for those ayes? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. Opposed?
Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
You can't,
And Dave?
I can't.
no,
Why?
you can't, you
Do
can't.
you have a conflict of interest that you haven't disclosed?
You have to vote.
I'll go for.
My vote is aye, motion carries. All right, and now for this is for a 1-year lease.
Right.
Wait a minute. So none of these changes for the insurance that you just voted in that lease as it stands? That's what you just did?
We voted it in with the changes that we discussed. Insurance for what?
They had talked about their insurance, and the solicitor said he was gonna bring up the insurance situation and strengthening that.
There's liability insurance that they need, which Andrew is going to put into the lease.
And our insurance,
We're not,
knowing that they're there, they'll be there 24 hours a day. And the utilities clause, all that
we
stuff.
don't need a utilities clause for 1 year lease. Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept the lease for the senior center.
I'll make that motion.
Is that a different contract?
Yes. Keep in mind that the senior center added, I think 800 square feet of room, so their lease has gone up, but not as much as it actually looks like.
That's correct. They request to add 201, and actually, they may have a meeting tonight as well.
I'm sorry, where's 201? Is that the
201's top of the
end?
steps, immediately to the right.
Oh, okay.
I had a motion from
I think that's from Dave.
Dave.
Okay.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion on the lease for the senior center?
Yeah, what do they pay now?
They pay $1,575 a month. That includes base rent and utilities.
Okay. That does not include the additional square footage that they're
Correct.
adding.
Thank you.
So basically, it's gone up, I think, about 10%, if you include the new stuff. Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Motion carried. Okay. I'm sorry?
What time did we say we're gonna stop?
9:30.
Oh,
Trick or treat on October 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Okay. Approval of a resolution supporting the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. This is to advertise this resolution. It's a resolution of the Borough of New Freedom, York County, Pennsylvania, supporting the Pennsylvania Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial America 250 PA.
Good job.
Especially.
I'll make that
Doesn't need to be advertised. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a resolution. Yeah. Okay, then, all right, then I will accept the motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Consider approval of a resolution waiving charges for real estate taxes in accordance with Act 57. Now, that is a state regulation. We really can't do much of anything about that, whether we like it or not, so.
So if we don't like it, we'll still do this, and then we're stuck with it every year, right? There's no way.
It's done. It's done.
The statute actually says that all taxing authorities shall adopt a resolution.
I know, but there's no end to it, right?
No, but it's only for the first year after you take possession of it. Once you purchase a property, it has to be within the first year, and you have to file a statement under penalty of perjury that you did not receive your tax bill. Now, that's hard to disprove, right? But, and under the old law, it said failure to receive your tax bill does not relieve you of paying a late penalty or paying your taxes. This changed it. And yes, we're stuck with it.
As long as he's governor.
Well, you got to get the legislature to change that.
So I need a motion to approve the resolution waiving changes for real estate taxes.
Can't do anything about it, so move.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I just want to point out that
Enthusiasm is great.
I asked at the municipal managers meeting if anyone had ever run across this in all their years of experience where someone didn't receive a bill and was fighting. Nobody, so.
Really?
Yeah.
I can tell you, we do it, I do it 20, 25 times a year in my municipalities and schools.
Really?
Interims are horrible, too.
Oh,
For
interims,
new
I can
builds,
believe, yeah.
interims, but we get this all the time. I get this all the time.
Okay, next item up, consider authorizing advertisement of an ordinance amending chapter 30, which is the manager administrator section. I'm going to make the motion to consider, to advertise this, and prior to discussion, I have a statement. There have been questions regarding the borough manager's attendance at multiple meetings, such as planning and zoning. I'm sorry, I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Chapter 30, the manager administrator, was adopted in 1988. That was 34 years ago. The borough manager's job has grown. We now expect him to obtain major grant funding and administer the wastewater treatment plant and its expansion, and to stay on top of infrastructure, to name a few. The office staff has grown over the years, and the borough manager has to manage them, but these people also have taken on budget administration, billing, code enforcement. To require the borough manager to attend normal planning and zoning meetings versus having the building inspector or zoning officer, whom is directly responsible and whom is tasked with being licensed and trained in these matters, is a little bit old-fashioned. So this clarification allows the borough manager, at the direction of council, to send the appropriate personnel to attend meetings. This is a normal business model and one which, per our solicitor, is used in many municipalities. It is also what New Freedom Borough has been doing for 15 years. So contrary to the written ordinance, as the mayor pointed out, this is how we've been running the shop for way before us. This amendment simply brings section 30 up to date to match what the borough has actually been doing on a monthly basis for over 15 years. There's also a section in here which allows the borough manager to appoint someone to fill in during his absence. This is a normal way of doing business, and that's all I got. Discussion?
I feel, yes.
What discussions happened outside of a council meeting with all council members to have a ordinance drawn up for advertisement? We're supposed to be making decisions as council as a whole, and this is being blindsided.
This blindside, this is an ordinance. You've got up, you just
ordinance
passed
to
the
be
text. Huh?
Nobody approved the ordinance to be
Nobody
written.
has talked about this,
It
nobody
was never
approved it
brought
to be
up.
written, nobody ever
This
approved
was-
it to be advertised.
And everything that
nothing
you
to
just
be
said
brought
is
up.
not-
Oh, hold on, it's, time out, guys. This is just a draft. That's all this is.
what
I'm not asking you to
discussions-
approve the draft, I'm asking you to approve advertising it.
What was all the spiel that you gave before you even announced the two paragraphs?
They were facts. I was giving you facts. This was written in 1988, 34 years ago. And this is something, this is not how we do business.
So
How we do.
you're selling an ordinance before we even bring it up for
Exactly.
a motion?
I had a motion and a second.
No, you didn't.
I made the motion, and I think Burnell or David seconded it.
Well, apparently, you know, to my thinking, nobody asked for this ordinance to be drafted in the first place, which makes it irrelevant. And I would think that it should be put on the table until everybody has the opportunity to read the existing ordinance that you're trying to change. Right now, you already have someone that is in charge. It's redundant. You have someone that's in charge when the borough manager is not here. That is you as the council president. That's what the ordinance states. We're gonna have a janitor, he could assign the janitor to do it if he wanted to. Not that he's going to, but he could.
Oh, my God.
Oh my God, I'm saying that this was not a legitimate ordinance that was voted on to bring before council.
Well, actually, Borough Council President asked me to draft it, and I drafted it.
He's not the borough council. All he
doesn't
is
have
the
the-
person that directs this
It's just
meeting.
a draft. It's a draft, Kim. I'm allowed to have an this actually came out as a result because you said that the borough manager had to attend planning commission and the borough manager had to attend zoning.
No, I didn't say he had to, I just said it was in the ordinance.
Right, so I'm correcting the
I
ordinance.
said, I don't expect him to do that, and we have been very lenient about that. That was what I said. I didn't say he had to.
What's that mean?
This whole thing
Okay, well, you
happened
said-
when we wanted to change our borough council meeting from 1 week prior to 1 week after due to a vacation schedule. And it was brought up that it says he must attend all borough council meetings. I don't care about the rest of them. That's how this all came to fruition, if you recall.
Yeah, I do recall. And it's
Yeah.
created hate and discontent and a lot of crying and gnashing of teeth and really a state within the borough council that I find intolerable. So I asked Dave to write an ordinance to address the concerns that you brought up.
But council
We
is the
are a
one that
council as a
asks
whole.
for an ordinance to be drafted, not you as president, correct?
I don't know,
It must be,
ask the
it
solicitor.
must be requested by all of, the whole of council.
You
I
just-
went to PSAB about this, and I've already been told, yes, I am correct. Now, everybody says, well, they've been known to be wrong, but
They have.
I went to 2 different organizations, and they're saying, ain't no way.
You just sent out an email this week saying we don't make decisions independently. We are a council as a whole. This was made independently outside of the council with any discussion.
Generally, the Borough Council President has the authority to direct staff as to how he would like to proceed at meetings and prepare documents. And you actually sat here and said, the mayor can't make a motion, and what you said at the beginning of this is pretty much sounded like a motion. You thought we should table the resolution for the ordinance.
I can ask for somebody else to make a motion.
Okay, I got you.
But he
There's,
also
there's
has,
nothing that says I can't ask someone else to make a motion.
in the job duties, like the administrative assistant can be tasked with secretarial duties for the borough manager, as well as a treasurer can be tasked with so these,
That's actually not true. According
It's
to
in their
our-
job description.
According to our old, well, yeah, I mean, it's in their job description, but according to our old ordinance, what it said was that the borough manager is required to attend all meetings.
It does
That
say
is
that.
a false, that is
It
a
very
false
specifically says
statement. We don't do that. That's not how we have run this shop. So I asked Dave to write an ordinance to correct that. Basically, it's a correction.
this gives unfettered just direction, sole direction. Just, there's no there's no.
Well, that's not really not true. I mean, the
Sole
borough,
discretion.
no, the borough
Yeah, the
manager
matter sole
had,
discretion. That's what it
Yeah,
says.
but the last sentence, what's the last sentence say?
yeah, read the last sentence out loud.
All the way to the bottom?
Provided, however, that a majority of the borough council may require the presence of the borough manager administrator at an event, meeting, or other situation. So he doesn't have unfettered control. What he has is, he can do his job as he has been doing to date, very admirably and very correct, and we can tell him that he needs to be at something. If, for example, some developer came in here and wanted to do something weird, and we thought, well, really, we should have Wade there and we should have Andy there, then we could ask Andy to go to that meeting. So we still control it. It's council's decision. So this is what Dave wrote, and I think it does the job
If
well.
we're gonna take a look at a section of this, I would ask the president of council to allow me to distribute the entire ordinance so that it can be read by each individual and have it, and perhaps withdraw the ordinance until they have a chance to read that and disseminate
It's not
that
under consideration,
information.
it's not under consideration for adoption.
What would you withdraw?
It's just advertised.
It's just to advertise it. You can still read it.
Withdraw the advertisement. It says in Robert's rules, you're not to read this stuff during the council meeting. So I'm asking that they.
They're not acting on the
take it
ordinance
home.
tonight, other than to act on the ordinance, and if the ordinance is advertised, it wouldn't be advertised till, for action till next month's meeting, so everyone has the ability to read that section of the ordinance.
So why don't you distribute that stuff now?
That's what I just asked. I'd like
Just
you
go
to
ahead
be
and do
able
it.
to see it.
Yeah, just go ahead and do it.
Nothing's in concrete yet.
And what about the facilitator's responsibility to stay impartial?
Under Robert's rules, a borough of, a meeting of 12 or less, I'm allowed to make a motion.
So we're acting as
Where does
a
it
small
say that?
board?
I want to see
It's
that.
less than 12.
So there's different rules for a small board, and then there's rules for larger groups under Robert's rules. And we
That's
kind of
correct.
dabble over here and over there. How does anybody ever know what's going on?
I will tell you this.
I don't understand what did that mean, Eric? Did you actually say something that made any sense to
I
me?
absolutely
I
did. If you
understood
want to
it.
hear it again, I'll tell you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So in Robert's rules, there's rules for small boards.
That's
right?
correct.
And then there's rules for the General Assembly of larger
Right,
ones.
sure.
We dabble a little bit over here, and we follow some of these rules of small boards, and then we dabble a little bit over here, and we follow the rules of larger gatherings. So it gets confusing.
I still don't know. Give me an example.
You're supposed to stand when you make a motion, under Robert's rules. Are we standing?
Each person gets a chance to
You know, speak-
talk twice. Under Robert's rules.
I will tell you that I'm only giving you advice under the Borough Code, and there's nothing in the Borough Code that prohibits any Borough Council member, chair, vice chair, whomever, from making a motion or acting on a motion.
But we adopted Robert's rules.
When do
It doesn't
they,
override the Borough Code.
when do they hand the gavel over? If they want to make a motion, when do they hand the gavel
You
over?
don't have to hand it under the Borough Code.
You don't
Under
have to
Robert's
under
rules,
Robert's
though.
rules either. No, you
I'll
don't.
read it.
It's followed in
Under
there.
the Borough Code.
It speaks
No,
of it.
Robert's rules.
Google Robert's Rules of Order for small boards, which we qualify as because we're under 12.
So are we always
Where's it
following
say
under
under
a small
12?
board? Because small boards don't make motions.
And how do they get anything done?
That's not true at all.
Maybe we should have a Robert's rule.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what, I was gonna suggest that we have an educational seminar, because I'm gonna be honest with you, most people sitting at these tables have no idea how to make a motion, amend a motion.
I'm sorry, motions not need be seconded under small boards. But we second motions.
We're just doing due diligence. That way.
So we just
Okay,
do a little
hold
bit
on,
of
hold on a
everywhere.
second. Before we have to adjourn, this just needs to be advertised. We can still read Kim's handout. I'm not sure, I have read the whole thing. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I'm just saying,
where you're going with it.
there is a
but-
person, namely you, who is already assigned, if he's not here, to take his responsibilities and duties. Why do we need somebody else? It's your job. It says so
Wait a
in
second,
the
now,
ordinance.
wait a second, though, why was it such a big deal that I wasn't here then?
Because he can't take your job while he's
Then we could, then if
the
that's the case, then we
president
wouldn't
of council.
reshuffle.
The borough code allows him, makes him mandatory, as he did in March, when I had surgery, he had to be mayor.
Hold on a
I
second.
can't argue that at all.
Hold on a second, one quick thing, okay? We have a motion and a second to advertise. All in favor?
Aye.
No,
Opposed?
no.
My vote is aye. Please advertise. And also, I think it is a good idea for all of us to read everything that's in Borough Code, so I don't think there's anything wrong with reading.
I do agree with Kim, though,
Yeah.
on the education, because it's not something that people hear about all the time. And it'd be helpful for everybody that's at the meeting,
Yeah.
if we just get somebody that can talk about it.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
I wanted to cover one more quick item before we adjourn, which is the roof. Mr. Schaefer?
So you have an action item in front of me tonight to authorize advertisement of the roof replacement project here at the borough office. Some of you are aware, we've been having roof issues specifically over the rented space at the police department. We have made multiple attempts to repair those. We had a roofer in, they sealed some things in, thought we had it. Made some repairs last week, only to find out over the weekend we still had leaks. So I've been working.
I don't have to.
There's no, it's,
You said before, I didn't.
the action item before you.
Okay,
is to
just
consider
the
others.
action.
Yeah. No, there's not. So we did have a estimate from a roofer, which is obviously much higher to replace the roof on this entire building than bid thresholds allow. So we'd like permission tonight to try to get this done before the weather changes for the winter months, to replace the entire roof, including the flat roof and the asphalt roof, over the municipal building here. And I've been working with Warehouse. They do believe that we can get everything out to bid, get prices back by the October 17th meeting, have the contractor start by the end of October and have them complete by the end of November. It's an aggressive schedule, but unfortunately, as the President mentioned earlier, we've got to go through the bid process, otherwise it'd just be call somebody up and get it done within probably a week or two, but it has to be bid, we have to go through the process.
No emergency exceptions.
I look.
The emergency,
Trying to find something we
it's
can get
imminent
through.
danger to person or property. If it's not gonna fall down tomorrow, it's not an emergency.
Well, the police department's afraid it's gonna ruin their computer room.
It's not
if
anywhere
that-
close.
No?
That got a little skewed. Well, it's in the vicinity, but the leak is over there. And again, we've been doing things to stabilize, attempt to stabilize and lessen any kind of impact.
Did that work?
The seal, partially.
As a stopgap, can we put a tarp from the ceiling that drains into a hose that goes to a trash can?
If we had to do that, yes, to keep things safe.
As a stopgap?
Yeah, because they're out of commission if that room, if there's something happens and that shorts out. I
Anyway.
mean, they won't be able to operate.
Are the beams rotted in that?
The beams are not rotted, but we do have plywood that is starting to show, not signs of rot, but they will need replaced, of water damage, we'll say.
Not rafters.
Not
joists.
rafters, no, that is, they're all structures.
So it's the roof not flooring, but roof, substructure?
I believe you told me back at our meeting in February or March that every year the insurance carriers walk through all borough buildings and everything is inspected.
Correct.
How does this get by?
You don't crawl around all that.
Yeah, there's sections where it's peaked.
Don't
I
we
mean,
have
they do-
Wade? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't Wade in there
And we
looking
did-
at these roofs?
we
It seems to be
did-
a painful growing theme of New Freedom.
Yeah, we did check those things. Again, it's the best of your ability while you're checking, and things kind of get tucked in. Unfortunately, the majority of this leak is where the two meet. The carport meets the regular roof, and it's kind of out in. And you don't always, just because it's there, doesn't mean you might come in over there, so.
This will have to be replaced. So this will be another new roof, damage beyond what it should have been. Who is responsible for this roof going forward to make sure this doesn't happen? Who's responsible for it?
I don't understand that, because it's a roof. I mean, roofs leak on houses, they leak on.
They have, but this has been an ongoing issue that has been let go for years and gotten worse and worse and worse. So whose responsibility is it to say, time out, we have a problem here, let's get it fixed properly, immediately, and not wait years till now we've got more damage and now we've got it.
That's what we're trying to do now.
I understand that, but it got to a point. Who is responsible? Is that Wade? Is it somebody else? Insurance? Is it on your maintenance schedule? I mean, who is responsible?
I don't know the answer.
So larger organizations like school districts will have a property and maintenance or buildings and grounds
director who will be responsible to go around and inspect those things. Generally, smaller municipalities do not have anyone that goes up and look at roads. And you generally, until you, know there's a leak, you don't know there's a leak.
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean-
obvious for New Freedom. You know, next door was, a couple thousand turned into 500,000. Cook shacks are gone because years went by and talked about it, but, and we
I think
talked-
Borough Council could certainly have someone say, we want you to inspect these roofs and have someone come out.
Well, we talked about that back in
And
February.
it's
You
being-
have a list.
Yeah.
Have you
being
got the?
developed. Yeah,
It's
for
still
each
being
building.
developed?
Yeah, yes, for each building, developing specifically for that building, so that those inspections can be done yearly to try to avoid this.
When will we have a complete
We can
list of those
continue this
buildings?
conversation at a later time, and at the continuation meeting would be fine too. We have a motion to consider authorizing consider approval of where am I? Roof replacement, yes. Consider authorizing advertisement of the roof replacement project at the borough office, which would be the area over the police. I think, do I have a first and second?
The entire,
Yeah, it would be the entire roof.
there was
We need I have a first.
I'll second it.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. And we've reached our time. We need to come up with a time to get back together for administrative reports and also to continue the discussion on the PMS system, I guess, PMS that we need to do. Does anyone have a suggestion?
That we not have meetings this long, where we only get through a page and a half?
Well, I think we're gonna have to start trimming things down and moving along a little bit smarter. I think, this
I
will,
would agree with that.
say again?
Facilitating it.
Yeah.
We normally don't have this much material either. We go
These
out of
packets are large.
ordinance.
Say again?
I said these packets are large. September 26th? Do it another Monday?
September 26th.
It's Rosh Hashanah, I'm sorry.
Do we want to wait 2 weeks? Or I guess we have to,
Not available the 19th.
what are the advertisement requirements for having the meeting?
We're
24
okay
or
because
just
it's continuation.
Okay, all right.
What time do we want to do this on the 26th?
6 p.m.
She's talking about,
Yeah.
she's talking about the
Is that all right with everybody?
26th. 6 p.m., 26th?
But we do have to advertise?
Ron Savvy
No.
Citizen?
Oh, yeah, well,
I thought we had to give 3 days' notice or something.
Well, that's for a meeting. This is a
For a
continuation.
continuation.
I've asked about it before.
Emergency meeting.
But Savvy Citizen alerts are still coming through 9 p.m. at night, weekends.
I don't get the ones at late at night. I don't, what do you?
The last one, whatever the last one, offices closed, was that the, I think?
No, that was on like a Saturday or Sunday during the day.
My wife got one 3 a.m. this
Yeah.
morning
Well,
without a
if-
thunderstorm.
But you've got to turn that off on your own.
Yeah.
I didn't get that, but.
That's not generated from the borough, that's
Regular
that's
work,
National
they
Weather
come
Service.
through
okay.
8:30 to 9:30 p.m. at night. And I'm
For
just
the
like,
borough?
yes, I'm like, what is going on?
See, I'm not getting them that late, because I've been specifically
shows what
making sure
time.
they're scheduled for the morning. I don't know why they're coming through later.
Okay. All right, we are continued until